Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. Today is Tuesday. Force is Sith. The planet is Mars. Side is dark. Today we're getting into the mystical Kabbalah, chapters 13 and 14, talking about Kether. So this should be a chapter in 3 pages. Pretty short. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Here we go. Dion Fortune, the mystical Kabbalah, chapters 13 and 14. Kether. Some general considerations on the tree and Kether. This is actually part 2. Part 1, we got some of the basics out of the way. Part 2, we're getting right into the actual Sephiroth. Book this big, it's hard to keep it under control. But we do it anyways. So I hope you got your copy ready. I hope you got your highlighters ready. I hope you got time, right? Because who doesn't have time to break down the mysteries of the universe? Beautiful Tuesday, I guess. Could be a whole hell of a lot worse, that's for sure. Hope you're figuring well. Let's get into it. So this chapter here is not going to be too fancy, mostly just setting up the structure of how she outlines the next couple of chapters. So we'll kind of go through it. No need for too much commentary. Other than understanding that, this was written during a time where the internet wasn't a thing whatsoever, not even an idea. So information took considerable effort to come across. So she keeps referencing Aleister Crowley and the book 777 because that was, and still is, honestly, an invaluable resource when it comes to occult correspondences, symbolism, that type of thing. The Hebrew letters, gematria, other traditional symbol linkages. So a work like that was a big deal, right? See, we can't even understand that at all because we're so used to just picking up our phones and pulling something up. Back in the day, you had to really seek and search and travel and sit, and you didn't know what was right and what was wrong. You had to cross-reference. In any case, this is what she's setting up here. This is what she's been setting up for the past 13 chapters. Where this work came from, right? She said that most students of the occult have no idea of the fountainhead from which their tradition springs, right? Not just because people are lazy and don't want to do the work, but also because back in those days, it was very difficult to figure out where your tradition came from. Make sense? So we got a feel for where Miss Dion Fortune's coming from. Oh yeah, I always forget to do that. My headphones are on. If I want the audio to be connected. How about now? You should be able to hear me just fine. Peace and greetings to Oath. Peace, Chicanos fighting for higher learning skills. J-Bald Hail, peace and greetings. Sly, peace. Raj Ram, peace. Matt Titan, peace. Welcome. Fat Tony, peace. I was 93, peace and greetings. All right, good to go. Anyways, mostly what I'm sure you heard what I was saying. It was just muffled. But anyways, it's not muffled now. Chapter 14, General Considerations. Let's get to it. 1.
In part 1, we considered the general scheme and method of using the Kabbalistic tree of life. We now come to the detailed study of the individual Sephiroth. This study must necessarily be tentative, for a life's research could be given to the significance of the correspondences that spread in endless ramifications from every symbol associated with each Sephiroth. Right? So this book right here is not the end-all be-all of what Kabbalah is. This is an excellent starting point. You can't get much better of a starting point, of a head start, of a solid foundation than this book right here. Other books are way too simplistic or way too complex. This baby's just right. If this was porridge and Goldilocks broke into the house and committed the armed robbery of eating other people's food, she would cherish this as the best porridge and then fall asleep in the best bed. But a start must be made, hence these tentative jottings. For I do not consider the following chapters on the individual Sephiroth worthy to be called anything better than this, even though they are the fruit of 10 years meditation on that marvelous composite symbol. Good to know, right? Good to know, because maybe you haven't come across, some people just hear about something yesterday and all of a sudden they've got a whole teaching about it, a whole channel about it, or a whole TikTok about it. It's good to know that someone spent a lot of consideration and practical work on a particular subject. Minosis, peace to Minosis. Minosis said on a recent live stream that we were doing, we were talking about like crypto and stuff, right? He's like, I don't just want somebody who dabbles in crypto to teach me about it because they don't know too much more than me. I want a crypto nerd. I want somebody who's living and breathing it, right? Somebody who's doing it all day, every day, eats it, breathes it, sleeps it. Because honestly, that's the person that's living in the frequency of that particular essence. So they're right on the cutting edge, right? They're basically the human avatar of that. And Dion Fortune is this for us. Dion Fortune is this for us. Framestar Films, peace and greetings. Years meditation. Number 2, the tables of correspondences at the head of each section consists of a selection of the principal symbols and ideas associated with each Sephiroth and have no claim whatsoever to comprehensiveness. They contain, however, the more significant symbols and are sufficient to enable the student to gain a sound philosophical grasp of the subject and experiment for himself in the use of the tree as a meditation symbol. 3. The references are taken chiefly from 777 by Aleister Crowley, who got them from MacGregor Mather's manuscript. Mathers, so far as I have been able to trace his references, for he gives no authorities, drew upon the work of Dr. Dee and Sir Edward Kelly. You might have heard those names before concerning the work of a particular group of angels. Cornelius Agrippa, Raymond Lully, and Pietro di Abana among the earlier writers. Among the moderns, right, you might know some of these names, the same material is found scattered through the works of Nor von Rosenroth, Wynne Westcott, Eliphas Levy, Miss Atwood, Madame Blavatsky, Anna Kingsford, Mabel Collins, Papus in Caus, St. Martin, Gerald Massey, G.R.S. Mead, and many others. To some of these, it is probable he was indebted. Others may have been indebted to him. Some of them were actually members of the Order of the Golden Dawn, which he founded. Of course, she's talking about MacGregor Mathers there. Curtis Lugalia, peace. So, number 4. Other sources of information are Fraser's Golden Bow, the works of E. Wallace Budge, the writings of Drs. Jung and Dr. Freud, the translations of Dr. Jowett from the Greek, the Sacred Books of the East series, the Loeb Classical Library, the translation of Plotinus by Stephen McKenna, the translation of the Zohar issued by the Sonico Press, and last, by no means the least, valuable source of information, the Holy Bible. So much for occult secrecy. So there she goes once again saying, hey, I'm not breaking any oaths. The information you're looking for is out there. Perhaps you just didn't know how to find it. But lucky for you, here I am. 5. It will be seen that the symbols assigned to each Sephiroth are classified in regular order under certain headings. To understand the significance attached to these different sections by the occultist and the use he makes of them, it is necessary to explain the method of classification in detail. So let's look at those methods of classification. You're going to see all these throughout the next 10 chapters. Obviously. Number 6, Section 1, the title assigned to the Sephiroth. Its name is given first in Hebrew and then in English, and the Hebrew spelling appended. The accurate spelling of all proper names used in the Kabbalah is vitally important because of the numerical value attached to them by the Kabbalists and the use made of the significance of these numbers by those who work the numerological methods. I am neither a numerologist or a mathematician, and I do not therefore propose to comment on that which lies outside the sphere of my knowledge. I merely give the data for the convenience of those who can appreciate its significance. 7. Section 2, the magical image and the symbols associated with each Sephiroth. The magical image is the mental picture which the occultist builds up to represent the Sephiroth, and its details yield many significant symbols to manifestation. So look, pay attention. If you're reading the next 10 chapters and you see Section 2, this is what you want to meditate on. Like literally, this is what you're going to project into the field of your etheric vision. All right, this is what you're going to look for when you're sailing the seas of the astral plane. The magical image and the symbols associated with each Sephiroth. Okay, so the magical image is the mental picture which the occultist builds up to represent the Sephiroth, and its details yield many significant symbols to meditation. These images are so old and have been built with such a wealth of magical working that they are apt to build themselves up of their own accord during meditation upon the Sephiroth. You see that? So I came to some kind of conclusion today when it comes to wisdom, right? So check this out. Nobody owns occult wisdom. You know that, I hope. In fact, nobody owns anything intellectual. I mean, we call it intellectual property, and hey, that's my idea, mostly for monetary reasons and for credit, right? You want credit if you quote unquote created something. But take the gloves off and just to keep it real, all the pomp and circumstance away. We don't create anything here. We don't own any ideas or any concepts. We come into them. But all of knowledge is self-evident. All knowledge is self-evident. The data is already embedded within this matrix. You get me? All knowledge is built into this matrix. And don't just take my word for it. I'm going to show you exactly how, or how exactly you can come to the same realization too. How many times have you been doing something a certain way, and then you hear an expert talk about it, and you're like, wow, I was doing that the whole time. I've been doing that for years, right? And sometimes you might get this ego boost like, he's not really an expert. I knew that. Basically, I recall myself cooking in a certain kind of way, and I stumbled across some technique, and I thought it made my food taste a little bit better, right? I like to season the pan in the butter and the herbs and spices and stuff before I put anything else on there, because what I found is that it gives it a certain kind of flavor. After the herbs are like thoroughly cooked and blended with the butter or the oil, it hits different, right? As opposed to me sprinkling everything on during cooking or at the end of cooking. Like I just noticed through experimenting, the flavor is slightly different depending on when I add it, right? So I could have been like, hey, I made that shit up. But honestly, as I do some more research, I find that that's actually a technique, right? And there's actually techniques on what herbs go best. Anything, any methodology that exists, right? Any patterns, any routines, any practical instructions is self-evident. It already exists. What we do is we experiment, we try things, and we come to the conclusion. The conclusion was already there. The conclusion was already there, but we come to the conclusion. So listen, all knowledge is already here. You just expand into it. Say for example, like boxing and shit, right? You might be new to boxing and you're just swinging wild and crazy, but over time of practicing, maybe you get into a lot of fights. You figure out that there's a better way to ball up your fist. There's a better way to position your legs, a better way to position your arms, right? And then you might come to a professional trainer and they might give you some tips and tricks, a lot of which you didn't know, but a lot of it that you came to discover on your own, right? So, I mean, that's plenty of examples. The list goes on and on. Me, right? I went to school to learn music production, but when I got there, I knew most all of the technical stuff. I didn't know music theory and all that, but I knew most of the technical stuff. Why? Because I was already making beats and producing music for years before I went to school for it, right? You may have been doing things on your own for so long, and then you'll hear somebody professional and you're like, hey, I figured that out on my own. All right, you get the point that I'm making, right? Knowledge is self-evident. You expand into it. Take that and think about that for a while, because that's going to open something up for you. You're not searching for anything. You're not trying to attain anything. It's already here. You just have to expand into it. So look what this is why I said that. Look at what she says here. We're talking about the magical images. This is what you're going to be meditating on. The magical image is the mental picture which the occultist builds up to represent the Sephiroth, and its details yield many significant symbols to meditation. Look at this right here. These images are so old and have been built up with such a wealth of magical working that they are apt to build themselves up of their own accord during meditation upon the Sephiroth. So look, what you're tapping into right here has been tapped into so many times, so deeply by so many people over so many years. How thoroughly mapped out do you think this information is? And you don't need a book. I mean, you need a book to tap into it at first, but what I'm saying is behind these words, there is an ocean of knowledge and wisdom. There's an ocean of knowledge and wisdom that's mapped out. It's not the wild, wild west, and you don't have to make it up as you go along. If you focus on these images and use your intuition, right? Use your experiential wisdom. You get your experience, you expand into it, you figure out some tips and tricks. You're gonna find your way through this ocean, and you'll be just as comfortable navigating as a big ass tuna fish in its familiar slice of the pond. Fat Tony says nothing new under the sun. Exactly. Exactly. Silenced heart of pain. Peace and welcome. Renee Cordes says yes, the roadmaps are there. The roadmap is all the way to the destination. I hope you hear that. The roadmap is mapped out all the way to the destination, and get this, and beyond. You just have to expand into it. J. Balhale says that happens a lot as well. You meditate on something, and like a Polaroid, things start to appear little by little. That's exactly it. So take that. No diddy. Take what I'm saying and like really think about that. The next time that you're struggling to figure some shit out, you're not struggling to figure it out. You just have to expand into it because it's already figured out. If there's something that you want to know how to do, understand that you don't have to struggle and try to wing it. Somebody else has figured it out deeply. You just have to go and find them and figure out what they did. Listen to them talk, right? You want to start a business, you want to get into crypto, you want to be a rapper, You want to be an OnlyFans model? There are people who've already done everything. You just go figure out how they did it. Save yourself a lot of heartache and struggle. Framestar Film says, like the neural pathways of the collective cosmic consciousness have already been formed over time and practice. That's an even bigger way to think of it, man. This is a hive mind. You are still part of the human hive mind. It's just what level of the hive mind. Lord have mercy. These people, they will drive you silly if you let them. But yes, it's just like neural pathways in this cosmic consciousness. Okay, so I made that point. That's one thing I really wanted to point out because that's something practical, something you can use. Let's keep it moving. Speaking of practical and practical working, all right, where was I? In the course of my own work on the Kabbalah, I saw most of them long before I had access to the tables that gave them. Boom, she just said what I just said, right? Before she even saw the tables, she already came to these conclusions. So as long as you're doing your work, as long as you're practicing and meditating, you're going to come to a lot of these conclusions before you actually see them in the black and white or hear them from the mouth of your favorite internet guru. That's a great point. Jay Baldale says sometimes it isn't in meditation either, but in everyday life. You will see things and realize it's a piece of that puzzle. At what point does everyday life become different from meditation? I'm in meditation now. What did Richard Bandler say in the Gold Book? You are always in trance. You are always in trance. Richard Bandler said we jumping from trance to trance. So what you want to do? You, I, and me. At the same time, I'm I and you. All right. Practical is where I left off. I saw most of them long ago before I had access to the tables that gave them. In practical working, the initiated adept builds them up with detailed symbolism, and it is a very valuable magical exercise to practice the visualization of the magical images in their fullest detail. You build up these images with detailed symbolism to the fullest detail. Dr. Zero Zeron, peace, peace. DB31, peace, peace. Much of this detail can be gleaned from the accounts I give of each Sephiroth, but readers who have any specialized knowledge of the Eastern or classical pantheons can elaborate these images to any extent, surrounding them with all the paraphernalia of the gods assigned to each station on the tree. These can be identified through their astrological associations. She said that before, right? All the gods can be identified by their astrological association or planetary association, right? 8, section 3. The situation on the tree. What's the situation? This throws an immense amount of light upon any meditation, for it reveals the equilibrium of the spiritual forces working in nature. For instance, Gibura, Mars, like today is Tuesday, Chesed, or Gijula, which is Jupiter, are opposite each other on the tree. The warrior king and the wise, benign lawgiver of peace balance each other. Gibura, when unbalanced, becomes cruelty and oppression. And Gijula, when unbalanced, suffers evil to multiply. 9, section 4. The Yetziratic text. This consists of the description of the sphere or path given in the Sefer Yetzirah, or Book of Formations. The translation I have used is that of Wynne Westcott. So like I said before, if you don't know, the Yetziratic text is from a book called the Sefer Yetzirah, and this is one of the earlier writings on the Kabbalah. it breaks, well, it doesn't break it down. It veils the description of the different aspects of science of Kabbalah, and it's up to the initiate to unveil those quotes, which is what she's doing here, specifically in section 9. Framestar Film says, remember when Prince changed his name to a symbol, a sigil? He became his own version of the tree. And he ascended before he ascended. These descriptions are exceedingly cryptic, right? But they will, from time to time, yield a flash of inspiration and undoubtedly contain the essence of the Kabbalistic philosophy. She's talking about the Sefer Yetzirah, in particular, the quote that she's going to use from that book in section 4 of any of the next 10 chapters to describe that particular Sephiroth. Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Creation. You know I gotta flash the book. You'll see it looks like this. It's a big silver bluish color. I mean, if you want to. Definitely not an easy read, but you might be able to figure out better than I can. David says, you know about the Gateway Experience. Oh yeah, the government-sanctioned CIA program designed to help the common man understand liberation through the astral plane. Byproduct of MK Ultra, given to you by our trusted and esteemed governing superiors. Egregore just like anyone else. But these days I like to choose my egregores. Section 5. Descriptive titles. A catalog of the names that have been applied to that particular Sephiroth in the rabbinical literature. These throw great light on the subject and are also useful to the student for purposes of reference when tracing out the ideas associated with a particular Sephiroth. Section 6. The names of power assigned to each Sephiroth. The God name represents the most spiritual form of the force and is conceived of as representing the functioning of that force in the kingdom of Atziluth, the highest of the 4 kingdoms of the Kabbalists. Right? The archangelic names represent the functioning of that same force in Bria, the kingdom of the higher mind, wherein the archetypal ideas, wherein are the archetypal ideas. So what she's telling you right here is in section 6 of the next 10 chapters, these are going to be illustrating the different aspects of that Sephiroth within the 4 worlds. We talked about the 4 worlds before. We'll talk about them again later. But even though it's called Kether, when you look at it in Atziluth, you're going to see the God name. When you look at it in Bria, you're going to see the archangelic name. When you look at it from Yetzirah, the astral plane, you're going to see it as the mundane chakra. And then, of course, from Messiah, you're going to see it as whatever the physical correspondence is. So 14, the angelic choirs correspond to the kingdom of Yetzirah, or the astral plane, and the mundane chakras are the representatives of each force in the kingdom of Asaya, or the material plane. 15, What I call in my tables the spiritual experience assigned to each Sephiroth is called by Crowley the magical power. Some might even call that a city. But whereas this term may be rightly assigned to the 22 paths, it is misleading when applied to the Sephiroth. I therefore have changed the term in relation to the Sephiroth themselves, but retained it in reference to the paths for reasons which will be presently seen. 16. Section 7. The virtue and vice assigned to each sphere on the tree. These indicate the qualities necessary in order to take the initiation of that grade, and the form that is taken by any unbalanced force in that sphere. In the highest grades of all, before form is developed, there is no corresponding vice. Section 8. Correspondence in microcosm. The microcosm, which is man, corresponds with the Sephirotic macrocosm and is important for many practical standpoints, especially that of spiritual healing and astrology. Section 9, the four suits of the tarot pack. Got that tarot pack. The assignation of the tarot cards to the tree opens up immense ranges of practical importance and forms the philosophical basis of the divinatory art. Right? It might not be the best way to learn tarot, but this book certainly has some good explanations on why the cards mean what they do. Because once again, tarot comes up out of the Kabbalah. So how can you efficiently know tarot if you don't efficiently know Kabbalah? The fountainhead from which it springs forth. 19. If the reader keeps these explanations in mind, he will be able to follow the lines of reasoning and allusion developed in the elucidation of these symbols assigned to each Sephiroth. There is an immense amount of work to be done in correlating the different polytheistic pantheons and the angelologies of Christian, Hebrew, and Mohammedan faiths with the classifications of the tree. This has been done tentatively by Crowley and is, I fancy, original work and not derived from others. It's a round of applause for Aleister Crowley. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here right now. And by here, I mean at this level of understanding of the occult collectively. So, original work and not derived from others. Its implications are not altogether clear to me, and I doubt if I could subscribe to all of them. An immensely wide range of scholarship is necessary for the satisfactory accomplishment of this branch, a range of scholarship which I do not possess. I shall therefore content myself with touching upon such points as have come within the range of my knowledge, and make no attempt in the present pages at an ordered classification. Then, of course, section 10, the flashing colors. This is only of use to advanced students who possess the necessary keys. Some of y'all do, most of y'all don't. Oh snap! Framestar says, Trav, you should drop the link to the vid you did some years back when you laid the cards out in the four worlds. Oh man. Yeah, I've got that in a playlist, but I can't post it here. I'm streaming straight from my phone. Dang, I'll have to come back and do that afterwards. But if any of you are on a computer or shit, you can do it from your phones if you want to. I have a playlist about the tarot, about learning the tarot on my page. And one of the first videos, I actually lay down the cards in the patterns of the four worlds, with the paths and everything. So if you're interested in seeing those correspondences, certainly look up Travis Magus Tarot playlist, and you'll see it. I think one of the thumbnails has like a unicorn on it with a Thanos glove. Eternal 13 says Frank Rudolph Young, Zodiac Force Control. Travis, could you cover that book sometime? I don't think I've heard of that one. I'll look into that one, though. I haven't heard of that one. Zodiac Force Control. Sounds interesting. Okay, so here we are. The moment that we've been waiting for in this particular study. We are now going to examine the Sephiroth. Looking at this tree under a magnifying glass, starting at the top and working our way down to the bottom. We begin with Kether, the first Sephiroth. This is the crown. This is the starting point. This is where it all begins. Before Haktua, before Bone Thugs and Harmony, before Mariah Carey was Christmas, before 6-year-olds had cell phones, we had Kether. Before Walmart started to close at 10 o'clock at night. Mom, I want to go to Kether. We got Kether at home. Sit down and put your seatbelt on. Thank you, Fat Tony. Hit that like button. You're getting information that you are literally not going to get anywhere else, at least while you're alive. So smash that like button if you can appreciate and understand that we diving into some of the most practical, deep occult science information that you're going to find on this here YouTube. You can't get this at Walmart. You're not going to get this at Kentucky Fried Chicken. You understand me? You're not going to get this at KFC. This is organic. This is premium. Select reserve. Seasonal. Limited time only. Vegan safe. Made in America, baby. Chapter 15, Kether, the first Sephiroth. We ain't gonna get this at the Sam's Club Deli. This ain't a sandwich you're gonna get at Wawa. Title, Kether, the crown. Hebrew spelling, Kaf Tau Resh. Magical image. Remember, this is what you got to meditate on. An ancient bearded king seen in profile. Situation on the tree. At the head of the pillar of equilibrium in the supernal triangle. So if you were to look at the Kabbalah tree of life right now, who here would not know where Kether is? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Who here would not know where Kether is? Everybody knows, right? All right. Yetziratic text. Remember, that comes from the Sefer Yetzirah. The first path is called the admirable or hidden intelligence, because it is the light-giving power of comprehension of the first principle, which hath no beginning. And it's the primal glory, because no created being can attain to its essence. And it is the primal glory, because no created being can attain to its essence. So it's got an essence, right? And there is no created being that can attain to that essence. We talked before about how everything that is, every essence, in order for it to be worked with and utilized practically on the material plane, we've got to symbolize it, right? There has to be a symbol that we use. The white rose can be a symbol that represents an essence. And if you meditate on it, work with it in ritual, you can use this as a button on your cosmic keyboard to make some shit go down. However, what she's telling us here is There is no created being that can attain to its essence. There is no symbol for Kether. There is no presence of Kether as it is, raw, uncut. And check this out as well. Look at some of the key words. The first path, called the admirable path, or the hidden intelligence. Look, it's the hidden intelligence. You are not going to see it because there are not eyes to see it. It's not something that can be seen. Why? Because it is the light giving the power of comprehension. It's the light giving the power of comprehension of the first principles. Look, there's a first principle, and it has no beginning. You have to break down the Yetziratic text, and plus it was written in Hebrew, so you automatically got to read it backwards, but it has no beginning. There's a first principle that has no beginning, right? And that's hard for us to fathom, which is probably why no created being can attain to its essence. But just delay the denial, and let's imagine that there's a first principle that has no beginning. It literally just exists outside of time, of course. Hell, outside of space for that matter. Now check this out. Check this out. There's a first principle that has no beginning. Look at this. There's also a light which gives the power of comprehension of that first principle. So there's a light that shines and it gives the comprehension of that first principle that has no beginning. You seeing how we're putting this together? Piece by piece. And this kind of reminds me of one of the faculties of, what's that word? It involves buddhi, ahamkara, chitta, manas. The antakarana reminds me of the antakarana, which is the mind machinery that we utilize. There's a part of our mind machinery that gives us the power of comprehension, right? There's a light that shines behind the ego. There's a light that shines behind, in fact, Tony said mind stuff. Okay, that's the chitta. There's a light that shines behind the ego, and that ego grabs hold of that mind stuff and creates a reflection of what it sees. Sounds to me a lot kind of like buddhi. Kind of like buddhi, right? For those of you who know. Let's keep going though, because we got a whole lot more to chew on. Titles given to Kether. Existence of existences. Concealed of the concealed. Ancient of ancients. Ancient of days. The primordial point. The point within the circle. The Most High. The vast countenance. The white head. The head which is not. Macroprosopus. Amen. Lux occulta. Lux interna. He. Just he. I'm him. I'm him. The inscrutable height. Can you even imagine an inscrutable height? So what do those names have in common? It sounds a whole lot like an OG, triple OG, somebody like a day one, like something that existed before everything else. The ancient of ancients. You know that there's a concept of ancients, right? Well, we're talking about something that would even be ancient to the ancients. We've got something that's concealed, but hell, what we're talking about is even more concealed than what you can think of as being concealed. Existence of existences. You know existence, but there's an even greater existence. You see this? You see this? The point within the circle. God name, Eheye. Have you ever heard of that? Eheye. If you ever read that book, Demons of Magic, and you actually did some of those rituals, you most certainly used that name of God in those rituals. Eheye. Most people translate Eheye as I am that I am, but it literally means I am, or excuse me, I will be. I will be. Framestar Film says, you think this light can only be glanced upon in the reflectiveness of Doth? I would say yes, especially because that's probably the closest we're going to get without the vision being obstructed. The closest we're going to get to Kether at the current level of awareness that most of us occupy is this word right here on this book, or the white circle on the cover of the book, right? Most of us, just keep it real, hell, myself included, right? I'm not that much more special. The closest we're going to get to Kether is this picture right here. Right? And that's fine. That's great, because at least you got something. Ask your homies in the group chat what a Kether is. So at least you got the word. Consider yourself much closer. Ask your auntie what a Kether is. Ask your spiritual YouTuber what a Kether is. Archangel. All right, so remember what she said on the page just previous now. Right here, we're breaking down how we're looking at this same Sephiroth through the four worlds. So the first one was the world of Absoluth. This one's through the world of Bria. This one's through the world of Yetzirah. This is through the world of Asaya. Remember, she said this is the spirit. The next one is the power. Spiritual experience. Yeah, this would be the magical power that you would get. Anyway, the God name, Eheye, that is Kether in Absoluth. And that's how you, if you were to tap into it, that's how you tap into it. Anytime you see in the Bible, I am that I am, or I am that I will be, they're talking about Kether and Absoluth. What came first, the Bible or Kabbalah? On the next level down, Bria, Kether is represented by the Archangel Metatron, the angel of the presence. Right? Iwin says, my boys would just say, you watched the game last night. Right. Right. Y'all see that fight last night? Straight like that. And that's fine. That's what they're supposed to do. That's what they're supposed to do. You're supposed to be the one in your circle with the information. Order of Angels. This is Kether in Yetzirah. All right, so we talked about Absoluth, Bria, Yetzirah, the Order of Angels. And Dion Fortune said that this could also be seen as the astral plane. Holy living creatures, the Cheoth HaKadesh. Very interesting symbology here. They definitely appear in the Bible. I believe it was David's vision. They appear twice. Ezekiel's vision as well. They appear like 2 or 3 times in the Bible. And they are the living creatures with the head of a lion, an eagle, a man, and a bull. Right? With like 16 wings, spinning round and round and round, singing all day, loud as hell. Glory, glory, glory. On the plane of Asaya, the mundane chakra, the representative of Kether is the Reshith HaGilgulim. Maybe somebody look that word up. Reshith HaGilgulim. Each one of those means something. I don't remember what Gilgulim means. Premium mobile, first swirlings. So if you remember the picture on the cover of this book, you'll see those swirlings going in both directions. The spiritual experience is the union with God. So you know that you have reached this level of Kether when you experience that union with God. Oh, Trav, I did shrooms and I had a union with God. Okay. And understand that there's 4 levels of this. So yes, you can experience this on the plane of Asaya. You can experience this on the plane of the astral, on the plane of the mental, and on the plane of the spiritual. But keep in mind what was said in the beginning. We're receiving a reflection of it, but technically no created being can attain to its essence. Not just because that's what Dion Fortune said, but we're talking about a concept that doesn't exist in manifested creation. That's why. Not because Dion Fortune said, but we're talking about something that is much more expansive than anything we can comprehend. You get what I'm saying? It's not just because somebody said it. She's describing something that is outside of the reach of the human mind. So having an experience like that, you're getting very close to it, right? You're having a reflection of it. I'm not saying you didn't, but what I'm saying is don't make something like that the ceiling of your experiences. Like, would you even want that to be the highest you could ever attain to? Beautiful feeling. Most beautiful feeling. I tell you what. Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Oh, Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. Christ Creations says Jesus is the only true God. I don't even think Jesus said that. I usually don't do this, but I'm straight up tell you that you're wrong, buddy. Jesus don't even say that. How you coming here with Christianity and don't know your ammunition? I should block you for coming here unprepared. I am insulted that you challenged me with a rusty ass broken in half sword. You're done, you're through. Now, as she said before, there is no vice. There is no vice at this level. But I missed a part. Virtue. The virtue of this level is attainment, completion of the great work. Right? Attainment, completion of the great work. That's the virtue, that's the power, that's the siddhi. That's the siddhi of this stage. Vice, there is no vice for Kether. Because, well, Kether does not exist in manifest creation. So it's perfect. It's perfect because it doesn't exist. You get that? It is an ever evolving concept. And there's a key here. Again, it's not just because she said it, or Crowley said it, or Mathers said it. Notice the symbol of this Sephiroth. It's half a face. Half of a face. It's a bearded king in profile. Bearded, of course, means age, wisdom, very, very, very old. But the fact that the symbol is the king in profile means it's just like the moon, right? We only see one half of the moon. We don't see the other half. The other half is facing the dark side that we can't and will not fathom. The same way that the other side of that face is facing something that we will never know. And that's okay. Thank you, J. Baldhill. Rashith HaGilgalem is first swirlings in Hebrew. Perfect. Zero, peace, peace. Zero says the most near to that is the end of our imagination, and that's pretty far to that too, I think. Gilly Suit 33, peace, peace. Mold Vox, peace. Correspondence in the microcosm, the cranium, right? So that's your correspondence down here, the cranium, the Sa, Yechida, the divine spark, the thousand-petaled lotus, the thousand-petaled lotus, Sarasrara. Symbols, the point, the crown, the swastika. So who knows what tarot cards represent Kether? Tarot cards, the four aces. So first up, you got the Ace of Wands. Ace of Wands, the root powers of the fire. So if you're somebody who pulls tarot, understand that when you see these cards, you're talking about the Kether of a particular world. So remember, the wands correspond to Atziluth, the highest plane. So this would be the Kether of Atziluth, the god name Eheye. Next would be the Ace of Cups, the root powers of water. This is going to be represented by Metatron, the Archangel Metatron. That's whose hand that is. One level lower is going to be the Ace of Swords. This is Kether on the plane of, excuse me, I said Bria. I think I said Bria. If I didn't, this is Kether and Bria. This is Kether and Yetzirah, represented by the Cheoth, Chadash Cheoth, the four-headed living creatures surrounding the throne, singing his glory all day, all night, forever. And then, of course, the Ace of Pentacles, the root powers of Earth. Let's run it back and see what that was represented by. Premium Mobile, First Swirlings, Reshith Ha-Gilgalim. All right. And you want to know something? If you want to get a symbol of what it looks like for Asaya, what do you think of when you hear that word First Swirlings, right? First Swirlings. Think about this. If Chokmah, if Binah represents Saturn and Chokmah represents the zodiac, those first swirlings, you could even see that as the Milky Way spinning round and round, swirling round and round, right? So as a physical symbol on the lowest plane of Asaya, you could picture Kether as the Milky Way spinning round and round. If you want to use that as a symbol in your meditation, that's a suggestion that I provide to you. Color in Atziluth, brilliance. Color in Bria, pure white brilliance. Color in Yetzirah, pure white brilliance. The color in Asaya, white, flecked gold. White, flecked gold. So those are colors to meditate on if you're trying to get a glimpse of this. 1. Kether, the crown, is placed at the head of the middle pillar of equilibrium, and from it depend backward the negative veils of existence. We've talked a whole lot more about that aspect of the tree in the past couple of months than I ever have on my channel. So if you're someone who's still here from those discussions, you probably have a really good grasp on what the three negative veils of existence means, as opposed to the rest of the people in your group chat. Consider the ring chaos, the ring cosmos, and the ring pass not. Right? These three invisible forces pushing and pulling the nothingness until pressure condenses a center, and that center becomes the subject of this very chapter we're reading. So Kether is the crown, is placed on the head of the middle pillar of equilibrium, and from it depend backward the negative veils of existence, the triple blackness of space. I have already written concerning the use of these negative veils as a background to thought. Springboard is the word she uses. In other words, we're talking about a certain type of data that has accumulated to the tipping point. Imagine so much just raw data being stacked up on top of itself to the point that the only next logical step or illogical step is the creation of something new. It literally gives birth because it's too full. It's so full that something new must come. That's what we mean as the background or the springboard. So she's already written concerning the use of these negative veils as a background to thought. And think about that, right? Thought springs forth from all this raw data. Because what would there be to think about? 11:11. What would there be to think about? So I will not repeat myself upon this point, but remind the reader that Kether, the first manifest, represents the primal crystallization into manifestation of that which was hitherto unmanifest and therefore unknowable by us. Concerning the root from which Kether springs, we can know nothing. But concerning Kether itself, we can know something. It may be for us at our stage of development the great unknown, but it is not the great unknowable. We don't know today, but that don't mean we cannot figure it out. And there's another hint as far as this triple blackness and this being unfathomable. It's also because we're talking about a type of information that is pre-human, that is pre-earth, that is pre-existence. It's like a certain file type that can't be read by this operating system. They talk about junk DNA in the physical body. They talk about, what do they call that stuff out in space that they don't know what it is? What do they call that stuff? Somebody can tell me before I get to it. Black, is it black something? Damn it, that should be easy. Dark matter, I think it is, dark matter. There we go, yeah, dark matter. Yeah, so we're talking about a type of information that is primordial. So the current computer, the current software program that we're running, the Matrix, we call her the beautiful Prakriti. There's data that she can't even read because the data was made before she was. It's like you having some files that are so old, your computer don't even recognize them anymore. L, peace and greetings. My gnosis, peace, welcome. Dark matter, that's it. Thank you all. Now, just like the way that our technology is advancing and it's becoming retroactive, right now you can have all of the Super Nintendo games and Sega Genesis games on your phone. Eventually, it's going to come to a point in existence where we can understand that info. It might not be anytime soon, but, you know. iWin says, Bobby Hemmett said dark matter is melanin. Bobby Hemmett said everything was melanin. That's your melanin. Check. Give me some questions. Check this out. The mind of the Magus must compass it in his higher visions. So even though it's the great unknown, it's not the great unknowable. And eventually, you who call yourself a practitioner of magic are going to have to rise past it. Eventually. Once you grow your adult teeth in, you can start chewing some solid foods. It may be for us at our stage of development the great unknown, but it is not the great unknowable. The mind of the Magus must compass it in his higher visions. In my own experiences with the operation known as the rising on the planes, which consists in carrying consciousness up the middle pillar by means of concentration on the successive symbols and the paths, Kether, on the one occasion, when I touched its fringe, appeared as a blinding white light in which all thought went completely blank. And as usual, she's giving you clues. As usual, she's giving you clues. And she said it before, in case you haven't figured it out yet. There's a level where the mind, as far as being the thought processor, can no longer function. That's like you losing consciousness if you rise too high above the sea level, or why the human body can't survive unaided certain miles in the deep. There's a certain level of frequency that your parts run on. The human body is designed to walk on the land. If it goes up too high, it cannot function. If it goes down too low, it cannot function. If you were consciousness, you would have to change your avatar. You'd have to adapt a different mode of existence. And when we're getting closer and closer to Kether, you're gonna have to transition out of human and into something pre-human. Make sense? Michelle Thompson says, what was the name of the simulation that you just said? You said she can't even read those files anymore because they were created before she was. Prakriti. You're going to see her name here soon. Prakriti. Prakriti. That is the original name of what you may call the Matrix, the Mother Earth, the feminine entity which we exist within her womb. Framestar Film says context and content like a codec and data. We're getting too technical, too techy. Mega Ape says there's a lot of great information in this, but the OG Kabbalah has probably been corrupted and convoluted over the past 5,000 years. Oh no, whatever shall we do? Well shit, man, if it's been corrupted and convoluted over the past 5,000 years, we might as well go ahead and give it up. Fuck it, and close this book up. That's a wrap. That's a wrap. Because what's the point in reading it anymore? What's the point in studying this information? It's useless to us now. It's useless. Y'all have a good night. We done. We done. And thank you, Mega 8, for setting the record straight. Because this shit is over. This don't even make no sense, man. Fuck it. I'll see y'all later. This is TK Trav. Even if, so what? You might be right, you might be wrong. I don't care either way. What I care about is what is useful, what is appropriate, what works. And what I'm reading to you right now works beyond a shadow of a doubt. So you can sit here and worry about whether it's been corrupted, if it's been tampered with, or you can test it and see if it still works. That's what I do. I test it. Right? What the Bible said. What the Bible say about test. Study to show thyself approved. You test the spirit by the spirit. The jig is up, y'all. We've been made. They caught us, y'all. Come on out. There's a situation with some friends of mine. And this is like a meme that we used a long time ago. What was it? I think somebody got pulled over or getting chased by the cops or something, and two of them went to hide in the bush, but one of them got caught. And then like as they're taking him in handcuffs, he's like, "Come on out, y'all! They found us. Come on out, y'all! They got us." The other two were successfully hidden, but because he got caught, we got caught. Come on out, y'all! We've been had. Anyway, let's keep going. They got us, y'all. Come on out, y'all. So, on one occasion, when I touched its fringe, it appeared as a blinding white light in which all thought went completely blank. 2. In Kether there is no form, only pure being. In Kether there is no form, but only pure being, whatever that may be. It is, one might say, a latency only 1 degree removed from non-existence. So it's hard enough to fathom non-existence, but believe it or not, it's a little bit easier to fathom 1 degree off of non-existence. So imagine there's like a realm of non-existence, but if you had this knob that you can turn, right, and with each click you can turn it 10 clicks, And with each click, that non-existence gets a little bit more dense and a little bit more comprehensible. And if you click it all the way to 10, you get the material manifest dimension. But if you unclick it all the way to 0, you get the unmanifest. Kether's like that first click out of 10. It's damn near non-existent, but it's existent. Such concepts must necessarily be vague, right? Yes, it's vague. Yes, this barely makes any sense. But as she said before, no manifest thing is going to grasp what we're talking about here. She said that it's the primal glory because no created being can attain to its essence. So we're not talking about something that is meant to be understood as far as the five senses are concerned. We're talking about something that goes beyond the mind. And a big part of what she's saying here is you have to transcend the mind in order to get close to this thing, in order to grasp this thing. Such concepts must necessarily be vague, and I am ill-equipped to give them such definiteness as they might possess. But I am quite satisfied that we should recognize grades of becoming, and that the crude differentiation of being and non-being does not represent the facts. With manifested existence, there come into being the pairs of opposites. But in Kether, there is no division into the pairs of opposites, which must wait for their manifestation till Chakma and Bina are emanated. A couple things she said there. This stuff is supposed to be vague, right? Because it's meant to stretch your mind out of its boundaries. And that we should think of the polarity of non-existence to existence, right? It's not just non-existence and existence. There's actually shades of gray in between. If you could think of it as a knob, you could click that knob 10 times before you get to existence. And you have to click it 10 times to go to non-existence, right? So it's mostly a gray area. The real duality is non-existence in Kether. But since we can't see past Kether, we have the tree of life. Now, what she also said is with manifested existence, there comes into being pairs of opposites. So that's why if you look at the front, this diagram, you see pairs of opposites. Kether, however, does not have an opposite. You got this pair, you got this pair, you got this pair, you got this pair. And you notice I didn't point to Malkuth, because Kether is within Malkuth after a different order. Kether is within Malkuth after a different manner. Or whatever Kenneth Grant said. Kether then is the one, and existed before there was any reflection of itself to serve it for an image in consciousness and set up polarity. Kether then is the one, and existed before there was any reflection of itself to serve it for an image in consciousness and set up polarity. We must believe that it transcended all known laws of manifestation by existing alone without reaction. What did she say? We must believe that it transcended all known laws of manifestation by existing alone without reaction. So again, we're talking about something that is outside of our experience as human beings, understanding the world. Kether here is outside of our grasp because we've literally never seen anything like it, never experienced anything like it. It operates with a different set of rules almost. It is the eternal becoming, the bornless. I invoke thee, the bornless one. But when we speak of Kether, it must be remembered that we do not mean a person, but a state of existence, How many people know that? Kether's not a person or a place. It is a state of existence. And this state of existing substance must have been utterly inert, pure being without activity, until the activity began, which emanated Hakma. So Kether was chilling, doing nothing on its particular vibration. But if you turn that knob one more click, what happens is now that stillness begins to activate and something changes. It splits from being pure to masculine, and out of its rib comes the feminine. Uh-oh. Michael Green, peace, peace. Shem L, back once again. 4. The human mind, knowing no other mode of existence than that of form and activity, has the greatest difficulty in obtaining any adequate concept of an entirely formless state of passivity, which is nevertheless most distinctly not non-being. So check this out. It's kind of existing, but it's not doing anything. Have you ever read the descriptions of Shiva meditating, still, inert, for eternity? You ever heard of that? I heard Sadhguru one time say Shiva is not a blue man in space. He said Shiva is a state of existence. Shiva is a dimension of consciousness, not a blue man sitting in Indian style. And although like I knew that, when I heard him say that, that kind of unlocked something. And I was like, wow, I was thinking about a blue man. Even I was thinking about a blue man somewhere. No, that blue man is a symbol of a state of existence. Just like Super Saiyan God? No, let's not bring Dragon Ball into this. Yet, this effort must be made if we are to understand the cosmic philosophy in its fundamentals. We must not draw the veils of negative existence in front of Kether, or we shall condemn ourselves to a perpetual unresolved duality. God and the devil will forever war in our cosmos, and there can be no finality in their conflict. Wouldn't it be awful to have that in your head as your ontology, as your background, thinking that God and the devil are constantly at war for eternity? Wouldn't that suck to have as your programming, as your operating system? An endless war against the light versus the dark? Wouldn't that just be horrible? All day, every day, behind every action and belief and dialogue and experience that you have, you're worrying and wondering whether or not you're fighting for good or evil, whether the light's behind you or the dark's out to get you. Doesn't that suck? Moldbox says, if I were pure awareness without thought, without any tattvas, I would be that. Absolutely, yes, sir. That's exactly it. You know what time it is. Michael Green says, God and the devil are the twins of Thaumiel. The conflict or war is unity in secret. Sounds a lot like the conflicts and wars in the manifest dimension, huh? For those who know. So look at this. Look what she said. We must not draw the veils of negative existence in front of Kether. Remember, because they're the springboard. They are the information and the data that's already laid out. We pull Kether from that. If we put that data in front of Kether, it's almost like we invert existence. And the light is trapped in this darkness and it can never unfold. It cannot become. We must not draw the veils of negative existence in front of Kether, or we shall condemn ourselves to a perpetual, unresolved duality. God and the devil will forever war in our cosmos, and there can be no finality in their conflict. We must train the mind to conceive the state of pure being without attributes or activities. And before you say that's easy, I want you to try that right now. We must train the mind to conceive the state of pure being without attributes, without activities. Can you do that? Probably can't do it, with me putting you on the spot right now, performance anxiety, but maybe come back to that line and try to conceive of pure being without attributes or activities. Which is why the white 1,000-petaled lotus is one of the closest symbols. Because white indicates purity, the lotus indicates an existence that transcends whatever it came out of. But imagine a state of being with no qualities, no activity. It's not doing anything. You can't describe it. No color. That's why she said pure white brilliance, right? Brilliance. And it's not nothingness, right? It's also not nothingness. So see how, all right, so right now, if you did that and you had trouble doing that, you see what I mean? This is not something that our mind can conceive of. We have to draw a symbol or some type of concept that we can grasp to even work with it. But we have to be careful and understand that that symbol is not the thing. The symbol's not the thing. Kether's not a man in profile with a beard, but that's a symbol we can use. The white rose isn't Kether, but it's a symbol we can use, right? Sarasrahra chakra is not Kether, but it's a symbol we can use. The crown that's floating above the head, all these are symbols you can use. Okay, we may think of it as the blinding white light, undifferentiated into rays by the prism of form, right? Because if you put that white light into a prism, it goes out into different colors. But what she's talking about as far as Kether is, that white light before it hits the prism of Binah, of Doth. Or we may think of it as the darkness of interstellar space, which is nothing, yet contains the potentialities of all things. These symbols, dwelt upon by the inner eye, nothing, yet the potential of all things. What's that? Hello, my name is Akash. And when you meditate on this, you're supposed to invert the colors, right? Remember she talked earlier about a method of mentation? What did she say? In the last line of chapter 14. On verse 21 of chapter 14, section 10, she says, the flashing colors. This is only of use to advanced students who possess necessary keys. And I said, some of y'all know. Most of y'all don't. But if you were one of those students who possessed those keys, you'd look at this Tawa and you'd see it inverted, right? The black will be white, the white will be black. You'd see this egg in space, which is the potential for all things. But see, this is actually the shadow. This isn't even the egg itself. This is the shadow of a different egg that's gold in color, yet still potential of all things. Gilly Suit says, so because there is actual physical life and spiritual afterlife has to exist, hence negative existence. That's one way you can think of it. Hey, we can go with that. That's not exactly what she means, but that's close enough. That's close enough, yeah. That's not wrong, I'll tell you that. Michelle Thompson says, I experienced that in meditation, and I was an awareness or observer only. And how did that feel, right? How did you feel when you came out of that meditation? Framestar Films says this is true for the thinking behind flags, coat of arms, brand logos, etc. Semiotics, the study of signs and symbols. Oh my. Oh my. Practicing Trataka on the McDonald's logo. What will we find? Practicing Trataka on the Starbucks logo. Man, practicing Trataka on the Xbox logo. Very cool. These symbols dwelt upon by the inner eye are a greater aid to the understanding of Kether than any amount of exact philosophical definitions. We cannot define Kether, we can only indicate it. So at this point, very, very high on the tree, these little books and words don't really do the trick. These books and words are meant to build you up to a certain point. The books and words are meant to get you up to that level of Doth. You use these books as a ladder to climb up to the point of Doth, and then you've got to figure out when and how to let go of that ladder and float upward. Or you can fall down and get lost in the mountain of books. The words are meant to go into your head and stimulate images, and those images are meant to show you the way. So when we're talking about this right here, Kether, there is no philosophy, no text about it. You can't get past actually meditating on the symbols. This is the point where you can't fake it to make it. You can probably fake your way up to this point. Number 5, it is a continual surprise and illumination to discover the extraordinary significance of the hints contained in the tables of correspondences and the manner in which they lead the mind on from concept to concept when pondered upon. The first Sephiroth is called the crown, be it noted, not the head. Now the crown is something superimposed upon the head. And this gives us a clear hint that Kether is of our cosmos, but not in it. In the world, but not of the world. Have you ever heard of that concept before? So the fact that Kether is a crown, that is showing you that it is in this world, but not of this world. Void Stranger, peace, good evening to you. It's in the world, but not of the world. We also find its microcosmic correspondence in the 1,000-petaled lotus, the Sahasrara chakra, which is in the aura immediately above the head. All right, if you don't know the chakras by name, that's the chakra, that's the crown chakra, basically. The crown chakra. Oh, and by the way, here's another symbol of Kether. Right? Why would this be a symbol of Kether? Well, what did she just say? Formless, no attributes. You got the diamond, you got the white lotus, you got the Sahasrara chakra, right? The crown all floating above the head. These are symbols that you can meditate on to get an understanding of this force. This, I think, teaches us clearly that the innermost spiritual essence of anything, whether man or world, is never in actual manifestation. Big point. But is always the underlying, behind-standing basis or root whence all springs, belonging in fact to a different dimension, a different order of being. Man, that right there will save you so much confusion. Every single thing that you're seeing is a projection from an essence. The essence is never here. You yourself, you, what you call you, the collected physical body functions, the collected mental processes, the algorithms in your head, those automatic processes that run in the background that tell you whether you like something or you don't like something, that tell you to be motivated or demotivated, tell you to stimulate sad feelings or happy feelings. The algorithms that run the program that you call you, that's not actually you. That's an expression of you, and you're not here. You're not in this place. You're in a what you are. The essence of what you are is not any of those things. The essence of you is not the physical body processes. The essence of you is not the algorithms of thought. The essence of you is not the emotions. The essence of you is not the memories. The essence of you stimulates Prakriti, and Prakriti produces these things. Now you identify with them and think that that's you, and that's what sin is. That's what impurity is. Believing that you are the expression of your essence. Oh boy, it's getting heavy. I can't even hold it up. Sunshine Chick, always good to see you. Trey Kage says, the jewel in the center of the lotus. You put it together. Great job for you. Michelle Thompson said, everything in the experience was stillness. It was dark, but I could see as if there was light, and I felt complete and totally aware. No emotions, just pure awareness. It was a beautiful experience. I love it. I love that. That's cool, and I hope that you feel that again soon. J. Bald Hill says, page 271 of Dharana Darshan. I wonder what's there. Let's check it out, shall we? Page 271. What a great book, man. What a great book. Both of these. Both of these. So page 271 of Dharana Darshan, an excellent picture of the Sahasrara chakra. And make no bones about it, what's that in the middle? What's the jewel in the center of the lotus? It's supposed to be standing up vertically, basically. Interesting. Interesting. Cool beans. Bindu. Somebody in the chat earlier mentioned the Bindu. I don't know if they're still here or not, but 2468. Y'all better grab this book if you don't have it already. I only mentioned it 500 times. Kashigi says, yes, sir, I had to train the AI on that book. Nice, nice. I trained ChatGPT on a few books, but I didn't think to train it on Dharana Darshan. It's been a while since I played with Mother ChatGPT. I should probably get back into that sometime soon. That's what we called her, Mother. Yes, we made it weird on purpose. Okay, so different dimension, different order of being. It is this concept of the different types of existence which is fundamental to esoteric philosophy and must always be borne in mind when considering the invisible kingdoms of the magician or operative occultist. So, if you have this book, please highlight that right there and make sure that you understand what she's saying there, right? I'll read it one more time. This, I think, teaches us clearly that the innermost spiritual essence of anything, the innermost spiritual essence, that means your soul, the spiritual essence of everything, whether man or world, is never in actual manifestation, is never in actual manifestation, but is always the underlying, behind-standing basis or root whence all springs, belonging in fact to a different dimension, a different order of being. It is this concept of the different types of existence which is fundamental to esoteric philosophy and must always be borne in mind when considering the invisible kingdoms of the magician or operative occultist. 6. In the Vedantic philosophy, Kether would undoubtedly equate with Parabrahma, Hagma with Brahman, and Bina with Mula Prakriti. There she goes. I told you she was going to pop up. So we would equate Bina with Prakriti. Now, in this case, we're talking about Mula Prakriti, which is like Super Saiyan God tier Prakriti. Prakriti without being tampered with, so to speak, virgin Prakriti. And Hakma with Brahman. That's the masculine aspect, and then Venus, the feminine aspect. In the other great systems of human thought, Kether equates with their primary concept and may be taken as the father of the gods. If for them the universe originated in space, then Kether is the sky god. If it originated in water, Kether is the primordial ocean. And you'll see in the ancient European, the one of the original creator gods, I believe, was Uranus, right? Actually, at the time, Uranus was a sky god. Was a sky god. But there are other cultures that talk about how the world was created out of the water. Either way, they're both talking about Kether. If it originated in water, Kether is the primordial ocean. So for those of you who are Christians, you know, God took the waters and whatnot, separated them. Always we find in connection with Kether the sense of formlessness and timelessness. The gods of Kether are terrible gods which eat their children. For Kether, although the parent of all, reabsorbs the universe back into itself at the end of an epoch of evolution. So you saw the picture of the old crazy man eating his child, and that was supposed to represent Kronos. It's not literal, but it's talking about the fact that everything that emanates out of this level of existence must return to it and dissolve. Everything up under Saturn, up under Bina, is temporary. That's why Thoth is in place, because the triad above Thoth is permanent, is closer to existence, and everything below Thoth must be dissolved. It's guaranteed to dissolve. PL Shamat Arhat. Peace, peace. I'm glad that this is useful and appropriate. I was going to go a little bit earlier, but, you know, I had stuff to do. But I most definitely wanted to do this live stream. So even though it's a little bit late, we're still getting it on. 7. Kether is the abyss whence all arose, and back into which it will fall at the end of its epoch. Therefore, in exoteric myths associated with Kether, we find the implication of non-existence. In esoteric concepts, however, we learn that such a concept is erroneous. Kether is the intensest form of existence, pure being unlimited by form or reaction. Sheesh. But it is existence of another type than that to which we are accustomed, and therefore it appears to us as non-existence, because it conforms to none of the requirements we are accustomed to think of as determining existence. You know what that's like? That's like life on other planets. Let's read that line that I highlighted. It appears to us as non-existence. Why does it appear to us as non-existence? Because it conforms to none of the requirements we are accustomed to thinking of as determining existence. So think about the requirements that human beings have to determine life. And we look out into space, into other planets, and we say, oh, there's no life on any other planet. But do you realize that when we refer to life, we're thinking about requirements that we know of, that we're accustomed to determine existence, right? It has to breathe oxygen, it has to drink water, to eat food. We're looking for us. And who said that that's what we're going to find, right? Just because it doesn't check out according to your limited experience doesn't mean that it cannot exist. I mean, hell, weren't we just talking about the triple blackness of space and how it contains an infinite depth of data and knowledge that existed before we did? So of course there are patterns and algorithms and connections that we don't understand, that we've never encountered, right? Hell, most of the universe probably doesn't consider us life. Do you think about that? Most of the universe probably looks at us and doesn't consider us life. Maybe that's why we haven't been visited by anything. Maybe they recently stumbled upon planet Earth and human beings because somebody astral projected 5,000 years ago, and they're like, wait a minute, did anybody notice this place over here has people who can see? I mean, well, the last guy that did it was like 10,000 years ago, but still, that's got to count for something. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just thinking crazy and wacky over here. Kevin Wise, peace and greetings, fam. Peace and greetings. Glad to see you. And maybe that's by design, right? Maybe that's by design. Maybe, yeah. Well, there's so many grains of salt that we have to take. What we're given isn't the full truth anyways. Need to know basis, right? Poise and Nail Polish Co. says it's arrogant of man to presume to be the most intelligent of the universe. Yeah, well, that's our trademark. That's our style, right? At least modern man. Okay, let's keep going. This concept of other modes of existence is implicit in our philosophy and must ever be borne in mind, for it is the key to Kether, and Kether is the key to the tree of life. 8. The Yetziratic text descriptive of Kether, like all the sayings of the Sefer Yetzirah, is a hidden saying. It calls Kether the hidden intelligence, and this appellation is confirmed by several other of the titles given to Kether in Kabbalistic literature. It is the concealed of the concealed, the inscrutable height. Inscrutable. The head which is not. Sounds familiar. The head which is not. Here again we get confirmation of the idea that the crown is above the head of the celestial man, Adam Kadmon. Peace Curve, welcome and good evening. So here again we get the confirmation of the idea that the crown is above the head of the celestial man, Adam Kadmon. The pure being stands behind manifestation and is not absorbed into it, but rather emanates or projects it. Now that Adam Kadmon standing behind the tree, that's your melanin. That is your soul. That is what you actually are. That is what is not here. You see that? You see him chilling? He's there, but he's not there. He's there, but he's not there. That is the soul, or technically that's the spirit, but we're going to call it the soul because that's what the culture knows it as. Crown resting on top. And notice how the soul emanates, or I should say projects the universe into being. This is the frame around the exoskeleton around the soul. Interesting. There's your Purusha. There's your Purusha. And check this out, right? Oh, Earth is a prison. It's a prison. Check this out. It's no wonder that Purusha believes that he is Prakriti. He thinks that he's matter. He thinks that he is matter because he's enmeshed in it. It's all around him. It's projecting out of him, and his awareness and attention is on existence. So it's easy for him to think that he is existence and locked in it. But the truth is, he is not here. It's not here. Hell, if anything, nah, we'll leave that. We'll leave that. Something strange in the neighborhood. Who you gonna call? Bustin' makes me feel good. Freighter L, peace, peace. Moldvox says it's like a reverse game of 20 questions, or a dragon realizing that all phenomena is like a maze made of his own body. Interesting. Bustin' makes me feel good. The inscrutable height. Adam Kadmon, that pure being which stands behind manifestation and is not absorbed into it, but rather emanates or projects it. As we express ourselves in our works, so does Kether express itself in manifestation, right? Most of you are creators, most of you are artists, and you can tell that you're the one that created the thing because you're in the work, right? But your music, or your painting, or your movies, the things that your books, your writings, your poetry, your AI images, right? The things that you create, you know that's not you, but you know that it came out of you. And look, you're going to continue creating stuff as long as you want to, right? In that same way, it's like you are the soul, you are the Kether, and your creations are the tree. If you analyze and examine, like, how many of you have showed somebody your art, and like you, if they let you, you'll sit there and break it down, explain what the symbols mean and why you did this and what brought you to this conclusion and the history and the lore. If they'll let you, you'll sit there and you'll yap their ears off about the depth of your work, right? If you make a song, you sit here and break down why you did the lyrics and what you got that from, what you're inspired to, the beat and the music, and this is why you did the drums this way, and this is why you threw a little bit of guitar in there because you like to listen to a little bit of rock, you know, and you use this particular set of drums because your favorite hip hop artist when you were 12 years old. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can break down all the nuances of why you did such a thing in the same way that the soul is the architect, is the artist, right? And the creation, the tree of life, manifestation, you can just look at it as it is, or you can examine it and scrutinize it and really see some of the fingerprints of God if you want to really, really look at it. So don't think that it's beyond your grasp. The Kabbalion talks about how we can understand things that are unknowable by comparison, by metaphor, right? So look at the same way that you as an artist create your work, and how you are not your work, but you're the creator, and you can create, you're the essence, so you can continue to create as long as you exist. And you can find traces of you, you can find your story, you can find your life, your memories, your history, your passion in your work, right? I could sit there down and break down the lore of all these little random songs and shit that I sing and break up the story with, but I don't have to. And you know that if you tune into my live streams, you know what you're gonna get. You know what you're gonna hear, right? Or any person who does anything, they are within their art. But the art doesn't get confused and think that it's the person. Likewise, you, as an individual human being with thoughts and emotions, don't get confused and think that this is you. You are a product of your soul. This girl has a pet brain in a jar, right? And she showed a video of her cleaning it out because she has to clean it out every month or so. And people, I was just reading the comments, and someone's like, "Oh, this looks amazing, but I'm so worried that that brain was the owner of that brain didn't give consent for their brain to be used. And I mean, I get where she's coming from, but it's like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? First of all, if you're dead, what kind of consent you gonna give for somebody to take your brain and have it as a medical specimen? Second of all, this body don't belong to us. It belongs to Earth. It belongs to Prakriti. I didn't. Where did you buy it from? What did you make your body out of? Right? Anyways. Now that doesn't mean just go out and be wild and ridiculous, but in the back of your head, philosophically speaking, understand that this body is more like a creation of an artist, a work of art. It is not the artist itself. I'm so worried that the owner of that brain didn't give consent for his brain to be used. Listen, at that point, sweetheart, ain't no kind of consent. Other comments were like, I wonder how many years of memories and visions are stored in that brain. I'm just like, it's not stored in the physical matter. But anyways, we're getting off track. That pure being stands behind manifestation and is not absorbed into it, but rather emanates or projects it. As we express ourselves in our works, so does Kether express itself in manifestation. But a man's works do not constitute his personality, but are the expression of its natural activity. So it is with Kether. Its mode of existence is not manifested, but is the cause of manifestation. Yeah? Yeah? Cosmic puzzle, peace. Peace and greetings. Peace and greetings. We have hitherto considered Kether in absolute, that is to say, its essential and primal essence. We must now consider Kether as it appears in the three other kingdoms distinguished by the Kabbalists. All right, so we just talked about Kether in absolute. Go ahead and close your eyes and imagine Kether as a file cabinet with 4 drawers in it. You've pulled out the top drawer. The top drawer says absolute. If you need a visual, open your eyes and look at this. You pull out the top drawer. So I'm gonna show you how I do it. You put out the top drawer of Kether, and you filled it up with everything that we just read. Kether is the crown that exists above and beyond the tree. Kether is the artist. Existence is the art. It is in the world, but not of the world. Now let's move on to the next. Close that drawer. We go into the next world. Remember how I said the tree itself has a big knob that you can turn 10 clicks and you can go from non-existence to existence? Well, check this out. Every Sephiroth has a knob with 4 clicks, right? The first click is absolute. The next click is Bria. The next click is Yetzirah. The next click is Asaya. So we just clicked it from absolute to Bria. This is what that drawer looks like. Look, man, y'all gonna learn this stuff today. You're gonna learn this stuff today. We have hitherto considered Kether in absolute, that is to say, as its essential and primal essence. We must now consider Kether as it appears in the 3 other kingdoms distinguished by the Kabbalists. 10. Each kingdom or plane of manifestation has its primary form. Matter, for instance, is in all probability primarily electric, and this is expressed by the esotericists as the etheric subplane, which lies behind the 4 elemental planes of earth, air, fire, and water. Or in other words, the 4 conditions of dense matter: solid, liquid, gaseous, and etheric. So look, when we talk about the elemental forces, these elemental planes, we are not talking about rocks and trees, wind blowing, a bonfire, and the water in your pool. We are talking about 4 conditions of matter, solid, liquid, gas. We're talking about 4 conditions. So when I describe the elementals, I know you want to hear it, but I'm not talking about physical things, right? Or I'm not talking about creatures that are bouncing around out in the corner of your eye. I know it sounds cool to talk about, but let's just address it as it is. The elemental forces are the conditions of existence. So you're mostly going to experience them in your personality, in your perspective, your behaviors, your likes, your dislikes, your attitude problems, right? Your attachment issues, your trauma. That's where you're going to find the elemental forces. This is why you should take my elemental magic mastery system, because I teach about all of that. Don't worry, just a few more days. I will offer another invitation to that course, but there's your heads up. Let's continue. Number 11. The Kabbalists conceive of the tree as existing in each of the 4 kingdoms of Absolute, pure spirit. If you got your tarot cards out, you might as well pull them out, right? This is how you remember that stuff. So the 4 kingdoms, Absolute, that's this one, pure spirit. Next is Bria, that's this one. That's the archetypal mind, right? Next is Yetzirah, the astral picture consciousness. Astral picture consciousness. And finally, Asaya, the material world. Right? Asaya, the material world. Under the presidency of a divine name or word of power. And these words give the keys to the operations of practical occultism upon the planes. Now remember, just saying the word isn't going to give you the magical power. You've got to have an experience with that word. So what does that mean practically? Because when I say practical, or when the occult books say practical, we're talking about something that affects your health, your bank account, your relationships, right? Your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health. Practically, when we talk about these words of power, you've got to have an experience of that word before you can use it. You've got to earn it. So you have to meditate on it first. You have to contemplate on it first. You've got to figure out what the essence is. Then you connect it with that word, and now you can use it. Does that make sense? It's just like in a video game, right? You've got to reach a certain level, then you unlock a new skill. You don't just start the game with all the different skills and tricks. On to bigger, better things and some horny tricks. I see my homie and some suckers all in his mix. I think he said horny chicks. But anyway. The operations of the forces of each Sephiroth are represented in each world under the presidency of a divine name or word of power, and these words give the keys to the operations of practical occultism upon the planes. These words of power give the keys to the operations of practical occultism upon the planes. The God name represents the action of the Sephiroth in the world of Absolute, pure spirit. When the occultist invokes the forces of a Sephiroth by the God name, it means that he desires to contact its most abstract essence. It's outside the limits of the mind. And he is seeking the spiritual principle underlying the conditioning that particular mode of manifestation. He is seeking the spiritual principle underlying and conditioning that particular mode of manifestation. You're looking for the force that is shaping the experience. It is a maxim of white occultism that every operation should commence with the invocation of the God name of that sphere in which the operation is to take place, especially if you know the essence of that God name, right? Then it's not you just uttering empty words in your ritual. I know I'm making sense, but I hope that you agree that I'm making sense. I hope that this text is making sense to you. How about that? This ensures that the operation shall be in harmony with cosmic law. Why? Because you are working within the parameters of the cosmic force that you're intending to deal with in the first place. The same way that if you're gonna go play soccer, you want to be aware of what the rules of the game are so that you can win. You don't just go into a soccer field and pick the ball up and try to throw it and dunk it like a basketball. You're not working in harmony with cosmic law, with cosmic soccer law. You gotta know the rules, right? And once you know the rules, now you can go in and play and win. You can sharpen and hone and concentrate your force to become very skilled. So again, this ensures that the operation shall be in harmony with cosmic law. The balance of natural force is not lightly to be overset. It is essential to the safety of the magician that he should conduct his operations in accordance with cosmic law. Therefore, he must seek to understand the spiritual principle involved in every problem. What did she just say? She said, therefore, he must seek to understand the spiritual principle involved in every problem and work it out accordingly. Now you see that when we talk about things like elemental forces or any type of magic, it's not about creatures. It's about your mind and the algorithms of how you're interpreting life. That's why the first place to go is that shadow work. That's how you seek to understand the spiritual principle involved in all your problems. And that's how you go to work them out. Every operation, therefore, must have its final unification or resolution in Eheye, the god name of Kether in Atziluth. Tibetai, peace, peace. 12. The invocation of deity under the name of Eheye, that is to say, the affirmation of pure being. See, if you don't know what this word means, Eheye, it doesn't mean anything to you. But if you have an experience with that force, now it makes sense, right? First you learn it translates to I am that I am. And then you start working with it. And over time you start to realize, oh, it's not I am that I am. I'm still working with the exoteric version. The esoteric version of Eheye is I will be what I will be. It's not here, right? Because like we're talking about Kether. Kether is not I am that I am. Kether's not here. I will be what I will be. That's the truth of it. So when you understand what that word means, now you see, right? So look, Eheye is the experience of I will be what I will be. It's the ever unfolding consciousness. So let's read that again with that in mind. The invocation of deity under the name Eheye, that is to say, the affirmation of pure being, eternal, unchanging, without attributes or activities, underlying, maintaining, and conditioning all, right? So you have an experience where you understand all those things. She's not saying this out of some other book. She's telling you what that experience of that essence is like, of what that cosmic force is like. And that's the level that you should get at, right? You see that she's talking about it, but as you do your work, you'll come to understand, oh, that's what Kether is. Not a place, not a bright white light on top of the Christmas tree. Uh-oh. That is to say, the affirmation of pure being, eternal, unchanging, without attributes or activities, underlying, maintaining, and conditioning. By the way, there's your Raja, Sattva, and Tamas. Underlying, Sattva, maintaining, underlying, that's Tamas, maintaining, that's Sattva, conditioning, that's Rajas, is the primary formula of all magical workings. Dadgum. I think I got the order of those three wrong, but either way, it's the three gunas. It is only when the mind is imbued with the realization of this endless, unchanging being of the utmost concentration and intensity, that it can have any realization of limitless power. Darth Sidious. Energy derived from any other source is a limited and partial energy. Is that useful and appropriate to know? You can either run on batteries or you can plug it into the wall. Now, there's times where you want batteries, but there's also times when you want to plug it into the wall. And Kether alone is the pure source of all energy. The operations of the magician that aim at the concentrating of energy, and what operations do not, must always start with Kether, because here we touch the upwelling force arising from the great unmanifest, the reservoir of limitless power. It is through Kether, from the great unmanifest hidden behind the veils of negative existence, that power is drawn. And I'm so glad to be reading this again, because I remember the last time I read this, that lit up a light bulb in my head. And I think that I have since not really looked back upon that concept. Kether is where you want to start. That's where you want to draw your power from, not anywhere else, because everywhere else is a limited source. Everywhere else is dollar store batteries, dollar store batteries. Do you remember what age you were when you found out the difference from buying the cheap batteries and then the name brand batteries? So you'll buy that. You got the name brand batteries. That's like what, $10 for 4 of them. But you can also get the dollar store brand, and it's like you'll get 20 of them for $5. You think that you're getting a good deal? Nah, man. Them cheap ass batteries got a drop of juice in them. So you're running through multiple batteries, you switching them out, swapping them out, putting them in the freezer, blowing on them, and over time spending way more money trying to replace that big pack of cheap ass batteries. But when you get the name brand quality batteries, you realize, well, damn, even though they seem to be more expensive, they actually last a lot longer. They perform because they are quality, right? Do you remember learning that as a kid? Not all of y'all, because, you know, we're in the cell phone generation. But back in my day, you had to get batteries for your CD player, your Game Boy, right? Some of y'all here remember them days. If we draw power from any specialized sphere of nature, elemental force, we are, as it were, robbing Peter to pay Paul. The power has come from somewhere and gone somewhere, and it has to be accounted for at the final reckoning. Energy vampires. They're draining us. I remember somebody accused me of being a melanin vampire, saying I'm draining people of their melanin. How is this even possible, man? It is for this reason that it has been held that the magician pays in suffering for what he wins by magical means. This is true if his operation is performed in any of the lower spheres of nature. But if it starts in Kether of Absolute, he is drawing unmanifest force into manifestation. Man, that's a whole lesson right there. That's a whole video right there. Maybe. He is adding to the resources of the universe, and provided he keeps the forces in equilibrium, there need be no untoward reaction and no payment and suffering for the use of the magical powers. Doesn't that make sense? Doing operations in the lower elemental forces, you're pulling energy from patterns and beings that need that energy to evolve. right? It's almost like forcing other things into slavery, subjection. Black magic and demons, right? But if you're pulling from Kether, you're literally pulling in fresh energy that must go out and replenish and feed and grow the forces around you. There's a difference. There's a difference. Now, I may be guilty of doing it the wrong way, but I've since learned better. You don't hear me talking about summoning demons anymore, do you? Greetings. Today we will talk about summoning the Demon King payment. Because I have found the light. I have found the light. The way, the truth. There's a better way than summoning demons, my friends. And his name is John Cena. Got him. 13. This is a point of tremendous practical importance. Students have been taught that the three supernals, Kether, Chokmah, and Binah, are beyond the range of practical working so long as we are in incarnation. True, they are behind the range of brain consciousness, but they are the essential basis of all magical calculations. And if we do not work from this basis, we have no cosmic foundation, but are poised between heaven and earth, and find no place of rest or security, but must ever maintain the magical stresses that keep the astral forms in being. Now, number 14 is a big deal. You can tell because I put a star next to it. Listen closely to number 14, and then we'll take a quick break. How much do we have here? Yeah, we got a little ways to go. Take a quick break after I read number 14, so pay attention. 14. The great difference between Christian science and the cruder forms of new thought and autosuggestion is that it starts all its working in the divine life. And utterly irrational though its attempts to philosophize its system may be, its methods are empirically sound. The occultist, and especially the practitioner of ceremonial magic, if uninstructed in this discipline, tends to start his operations without any reference to cosmic law or spiritual principle. Sounds like most of us, right? Listen. Consequently, the astral images he forms are like foreign bodies in the organism of the celestial man, or macrocosm, and all the forces of nature are spontaneously directed towards the elimination of the foreign substance and the restoration of the normal equilibrium of stresses. Man, you creating viruses. You creating spiritual viruses when you don't balance forces you're working with. You're creating bullshit upon bullshit, and Prakriti immediately is triggered to pushing it out of her system because it doesn't belong, it doesn't fit. Doesn't that sound familiar? You try to do a ritual, you try to do some magic, right? And everything seems to either not work, or you keep getting your distractions popping up, or old patterns keep popping up and blocking your blessing, right? It's not because it doesn't work, but you're probably going about it in a way that's not useful or appropriate. Let me read that again, because this is really important. The occultist, and especially the practitioner of ceremonial magic, right, that's you, if uninstructed in this discipline, tends to start his operation without any reference to cosmic law or spiritual principle, right? You've got to do what? Stand on principle. Shout out to my gnosis, right? Consequently, the astral images look. When you're doing these rituals and these occult practices without reference to cosmic law or spiritual principle, when you're just out here winging it and doing some TikTok shit with no basis, no foundation, right? Without understanding at least a little bit what you're doing, this is what's happening. This is what all these TikTok magicians are doing. Consequently, the astral images he forms are like foreign bodies in the organism of the celestial man or macrocosm. And all the forces of nature, all the forces of nature are spontaneously directed towards the elimination of the foreign substance and the restoration of the normal equilibrium of stresses. Yo, if you've never experienced this, then you probably have never done a ritual before. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. You try to do some magic, try to do something you heard off the internet, or you try to wing something, or hell, you might be following something out of a book. I don't know. And it seems like just as things are kind of look like they're working, something comes along and smacks it out of the way, right? Like I said, old habits pop up, new distractions pop up. Everything under the face of the sun happens except that ritual. But you see a little glimpse of hope, so you keep pushing through, you keep trying to figure out what you did wrong. Or hell, you might get a little bit of what you asked for. Nature fights the magician tooth and nail. Nice record label. Consequently, whosoever has resorted to unconsecrated magic may never lay down his sword, but must always be on the defensive in order to maintain that which he has won. But the adept who starts his work in the Kether of Absolute, that is to say, in spiritual principle, and works that spiritual principle downwards to its expression on the planes of form, employing power drawn from the unmanifest for this purpose, has made his operation a part of the cosmic process, and nature is with him instead of against him. That right there, if you can figure that out right there, that's what makes you a consistently successful magician, a consistently successful magus. It's all about understanding what you're doing. There's no magic word, there's no rock, no incense, no deck of tarot cards. All those are just things. Is how you employ those things. And really, it's what happens before you whip any of those tools out. I'm dead serious right here. Pay attention to that verse. Read it. If you kind of get what I'm saying, but not fully, I need you to look back at that verse and really get it, right? This is me playing my role as teacher of the occult to students of the occult. Make sure you understand that verse. If you don't get anything else, if all this Kether stuff is abstract and weird and out there and whatever, at least get that verse. Because understanding that will put you on the road to actually changing your life the way you want it to be, as opposed to continually trying and falling short. All right, let me know if you heard what I said. Let me know if you get it or if you're going to read it over. Let me know what you're going to do with that piece of information in the chat. I'll be right back. Right back. Gotta get a refill here. Don't go anywhere. Hit that like button. Seriously though, that's a powerful ass line right there. Hey, can I tell you guys something? Well, I'll tell you when I get back. Nice to see that you guys are really pulling a lot out of that verse there. Really good to see. Oh, that's why. All right, so check this out. Check this out. Quick story time. Let me know who all's with me. Let me know who all's with me. So there's like games where you can have little creatures, and they sometimes like bring you back a random reward or a random item. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1234. So of course right now I'm playing Hogwarts Legacy, and you can have these little creatures that you rescue from poachers, and you can visit them, and every now and then they'll give you like some type of item that's useful on your quest. And that's what familiars do, right? When you think about witches and wizards, they got like I don't know, a black cat or some type of animal that they use as a familiar. And they generally help in unexpected ways. So check this shit out, man. Check this shit out. So my black cat, randomly, I'd go out and I'd see that one of the dressers in the living room, where like the I don't know if it's a china cabinet or what, but this big ass glass cabinet, it's got drawers, and every now and then the drawer would be wide open and everything inside would be flung out, and I'm like, this damn cat, and I'll put everything back in and scold her a bit, and it would happen randomly. She won't do it every night, but last night I walk in and I see that the drawer is open, and this cat has flung this out. Now, I'm not so sure what this bag of green stuff is, but rest assured, I'm going to turn it into the authorities immediately after this live stream. I don't know where it came from, but I tell you what, this cat somehow discovered it. Maybe that's why she kept going in there. I don't know. I don't know where it came from. But like I said, I'm promptly turning it into the authorities as soon as this live stream's over. It smells fresh as hell, too. Now, generally, my roommates are pretty honest. So, I asked, they said they don't know, it wasn't theirs. I said they're honest because any other Negro would have been like, shit, yeah, that's mine. But everybody was like, I don't know. So yeah, I don't know where this came from. It's just like those familiars that manifest random items. But yeah, I'm gonna turn this into the authorities, and yes, that's the right thing to do. Right Stream says Cat manifested it from Kether. Nobody knows where it came from. That's hilarious, dude. Well, shit, you can give it to me though. I'm gonna give it to you. My cat found it. I'm turning it into the authorities. Right after this live stream, I'm calling 911. Please call 911. Jerry Peleas says that if thou shalt confess with thy mouth the Lord Jesus, and shalt believe in thine heart that God hath raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. Romans 10:9, King James Version. Thanks, Jerry. Appreciate that. Very nice of you. Where were we? All right, so hopefully you thought about that. We're going to continue with number 15. That's a good verse. All right, 15. We cannot hope to understand the nature of Kether in Absolute, but we can open our consciousness to its influence, and its influence is very powerful and gives a strange sense of eternity and immortality. We may know when the invocation of Eheye in its pure white brilliance has been effectual. Why? Because we shall find ourselves realizing with complete conviction the utter impermanence and insignificance of the planes of form, and the supreme importance of the one life, which conditions all form as clay in the hands of a potter. Okay, so yeah, right there, she's giving you what you're going to feel, right? What type of feelings you're going to come into, what type of experience it is, this unity of God, she called it. When you know that you're working with Kether, you're going to have this undeniable sense of how the world is impermanent, it's insignificant, it changes, it flows. Like none of this stuff is as serious as we thought it was. And I don't mean like on a depressive, nihilistic, destructive. I mean like you realize like, whoa, this really is a game. This really is some kind of weird ass cosmic TV show. Like it's not that serious, right? And not just that, you start to realize that this world is literally a work of art being shaped and crafted and formed by invisible hands. In her words, she says that we see the supreme importance of the one life, which conditions all form as clay in the hands of a potter. You may have heard me say before on this channel that there is only one soul. I keep saying that. Not easy to really accept, and you don't have to, but from what I have experienced, there's one soul. Meditation upon Kether gives us an intuitive realization that the issue of an operation does not matter in the very least. The issue of an operation does not matter in the very least. Let the dirt play with the dirt if it pleases the dirt. Once that realization has been obtained, we have lordship over the astral images and can turn them this way and that as it pleases us. It is only when the operator cares nothing for the outcome. What's that called? What's that called? It is only when the operator cares nothing for the outcome of the operation on the physical plane that he attains to this complete lordship over the astral images. He is concerned simply and solely with the handling of forces and the bringing of them through into manifestation in form. You're supposed to be making sigils. You're supposed to be making little egregores, right? You're supposed to be making elementals to do this, that, and the third. You're supposed to be doing that. But he does not care what form the forces may ultimately assume. He leaves that to them. How nice, right? For they will assuredly assume the form that is most consonant with their nature, and thus be truer to cosmic law than any design which his limited knowledge could assign to them. Experience will teach you that, right? At first you want to create, these entities, and they want to look badass, and they do this for you and that for you, and you want to be real hands-on and real specific. But over time, you start to learn, hopefully, if you keep at this thing, it's not the form that's important. It's the force that's important, right? We focus on the form, don't we? When you're doing your servitors and your egregores and your entities and your spirits and all that stuff that you're creating, you focus a lot on the form because that's what appeals to us, that's what excites us. But what's most important is making sure that you get precisely the force that you're intending, and then you let the force take whatever shape it needs, because it's going to pick the best shape, best form according to what it is. You learn to do that. So for those of you who have created entities and are actively doing that, eventually what happens as you do it after you get a lot of experience with it, you stop focusing on what they look like and you strictly focus on what that force is. And you learn to enjoy the surprise as it makes itself known to you. And it's an everyday process, really, just like breathing and eating and using the restroom. But notice, I said, what's that called? She's talking about non-attachment. You got to have a sense of non-attachment when it comes to this, when it comes to invoking and arranging these cosmic forces. She said that meditation upon Kether gives us an intuitive realization that the issue of an operation does not matter in the very least. She said, let the dirt play with the dirt if it pleases the dirt. That's fine. Let these folks do what they do, and let the energy do what it does. You shouldn't feel any kind of way about it whatsoever. Once that realization has been obtained, we have lordship over the astral images and can turn them this way and that as it pleases us. It is only when the operator cares nothing for the outcome of the operation on the physical plane that he attains to this complete lordship over the astral images. He is concerned simply and solely with the handling of forces and the bringing of them through into manifestation and form. But he does not care what form the forces may ultimately assume. He leaves that to them, for they will assuredly assume the form that is most consonant with their nature, and thus be truer to cosmic law than any design which his limited knowledge could assign to them. This is the real key to all magical operations and their sole justification. For we may not turn the universe round and about to suit our whim or convenience, but are only justified in the deliberate work of magic when we work with the great tide of evolving life in order to bring ourselves into fullness of life, whatever form that experience or manifestation may take. So fullness of life is not a specific thing. It's going to be different for all of us. And you cannot go wrong working towards that. I came so that you may have life and have it more abundantly. You're supposed to be having abundant life. You're supposed to. Boom. Yeah. That's the next verse too. I am come that they might have life and that they may have it more abundantly. I didn't even see that. That's awesome. Said our Lord. And that should be the word of the magician. Life and life alone should be his word, and not any specialized manifestation of it as wisdom, power, not even love. (17) Those who have followed the preceding discussion point by point may now be able to see some significance in the cryptic words of the Yetziratic text assigned to Kether. The words hidden intelligence convey a hint of the unmanifest nature of the existence of Kether, which is confirmed by the statement that no created being can attain to its essence. That is to say, no being using as its vehicle of consciousness any organism of the planes of form. When, however, consciousness has been exalted to the point where it transcends thought, Are y'all hearing this? It receives from the primal glory the power of comprehension of the first principle. Or in other words, then shall we know even as we are known. God knows you, right? You always knew that. God knows you, your innermost being. Imagine this. Then this is a Bible quote. Then we shall know even as we are known. Imagine knowing just as much as you're known. But look, no created being can attain to its essence. And this is what she meant. This is what the Yetziradic text means by that. This is what we've been talking about. No created being using as its vehicle organisms of form. You literally have to transcend, you have to exalt consciousness to the point where it transcends thought. That's why I use my words carefully. You have to expand your consciousness. You expand it and you come into knowledge. You come into patterns that exist. You come into awareness. You expand into it. It's revealed to you because it already exists. It's already here. It's not hard. It's very easy. All you have to do is reach towards it. Make sure that you're gravitating towards it. You want to be gravitating towards Kether, not towards Malkuth. You want to be gravitating towards Kether, not Malkuth. Now, that should be a sigh of relief, because that means, oh, I didn't do my meditations today. Oh, I didn't read. Oh, I didn't do anything spiritual today. I'm behind. As long as you are focused towards evolving upward to Kether, expanding to Kether, you're still doing it. Even if you miss a few days, even if you miss a few weeks, guess what? Even if you miss a few years. Now, everybody don't finish the race at the same time. But once you're in this thing, it's only one way out, and that's up. J. Baldale says, few lifetimes even. Boom. You have altered your cosmic destiny by getting involved with this. Come on out, y'all. They done found us. You can't hide anymore. See, you've been trying to hide. Hiding in the bushes over there. They got us, y'all. They found us. Come on out. Come on out from behind that tree. And you over there in that bush, come on out. They done found us. They got me, so they got all of us. He was so mad. I am that I am. Pure being is the god name of Kether, and its magical name is an ancient bearded king seen in profile. The Zohar says of this ancient bearded king that he is all right side. We do not see the magical image of the Kether full face, that is to say complete, but only partially. There is an aspect which must ever be hidden from us, like the hidden side of the moon. This side of Kether is the side that is towards the unmanifest, which the nature of our manifested consciousness prevents us from comprehending, and which must ever be a sealed book to us. But accepting this limitation, we may gaze in contemplation upon the aspect of Kether, the profile of the ancient bearded king presented to us reflected downwards into form. 19. Ancient is this king, the ancient of ancients, the ancient of days, for he was from the beginning when countenance beheld not countenance. A king he is, because he rules all things according to his supreme and unquestioned will. In other words, it is the nature of Kether that conditions all things, because all things are evolved from it. Bearded he is, because in the curious symbolism of the rabbis, every hair of his beard has significance. Hmm. 20. The manifestation of the forces of Kether in Bria, the world of the... Okay, so we just, by the way, first we did Absolute. Now she's talking about Bria. The manifestation of the forces of Kether in Bria, the world of archetypal mind, is said to be through the Archangel Metatron, the Prince of Countenances, who tradition avers was the teacher of Moses. The Sefer Yetzirah says of the 10th path, Malkuth, that it causes an influence to flow from the Prince of Countenances, the Archangel of Kether, and is the source of illumination of all the lights of the universe. Thus plainly do we learn that not only does spirit flow out into manifestation and matter, but matter by its own energy draws spirit into manifestation. An important point for the practitioner of magic, for it teaches him that he is justified in his operations, and that man is not required to wait upon the word of the Lord, but may call upon God to hear him. Did you know that? Person who keeps randomly dropping Bible verses and leaving? It teaches us that we are justified in our operations, and that man is not required to wait upon the word of the Lord, but may call upon God to hear him. You got to have a certain kind of heart to take that, and run with it. You got to have a certain kind of heart. Everybody don't have that kind of heart. Nah, that don't sound right. I'ma wait on the Lord. The Lord gonna get me out of it. He gonna tell me what to do. The Lord has already done everything that he's ever going to do. He already did that. It's up to you to activate it. Bill Gates might have made an Xbox, but it's up to you to turn it on and select what game to play. Bill Gates is not going to come in here and turn the Xbox on. No man shall know the day. No man shall know the hour, brother. Brother. 21. The angels of Kether operating in the Yetziratic world, so that would be this one, the Astral. All right. The angels of Kether operating in the Yetziratic world are the Cheoth HaKadesh, holy living creatures, and their name carries the mind to the chariot vision of Ezekiel and the four holy creatures before the throne. The fact that the four aces of the tarot assigned to Kether are regarded as representing the roots of the four elements of earth, air, fire, and water further bears out this association. We may look then to Kether as the fountainhead of the elements. When she repeats words, right? And I only see this after reading this book multiple times. When she repeats words, that's meant to trigger something that she implanted several chapters ago. The fountainhead from which your tradition springs. Now she's talking about the fountainhead from which existence springs, right? Right? Kashigi says, I remember Phil Valentine saying Moses is like God because he spoke with God through all four elements. Yes, yes. What came first, the Bible or Kabbalah? Iwas 93 says Dion hits heavy with the Christian mysteries. Absolutely. Absolutely. She's utilizing what's familiar. Best way to do it. Best way to do it. It just has a way of keeping your attention when you hear something familiar. Ooh, there it is. Ooh, there it is. We may look then to Kether as the fountainhead of the elements. This concept clears up many occult and metaphysical difficulties that occur if we limit their operation to the astral plane and regard elementals as little better than devils, as some schools of transcendental thought appear to do. Imagine that, thinking that elementals are nothing but fairies and gnomes and little invisible mermaids and fire salamanders. Imagine that. But elemental forces are so much more than that. That's the mainstream. That's what everyone wants to see. May God bless and keep you, Deacon. God bless and keep you. I'm going through something here. Me and my wife. Oh man, I love it. God bless and keep you. I use that phrase. I told that to somebody today. God bless and keep you. God bless and keep you. Yes, sir. Victory to the Lord. 22. The whole question of the angels, archons, the whole question of the angels, archons, and elementals is a very vexed and very important one in occultism because its practical application to magic is immediate. Practical, once again. Christian thought can tolerate with an effort the idea of archangels. But the ministering spirits, the messengers who are flames of fire, and the heavenly builders are alien to its theology. God alone, and in an instant, made the heavens and the earth. The great architect of the universe is also the bricklayer. Not so does esoteric science, right? That's not how it works. The initiate knows the legions of spiritual beings who are agents of God's will and the vehicles of creative activity. It is through these that he works by the grace of their ruling archangel. But an archangel cannot be conjured by any spell, however potent. Rather, it is that when we effect an operation of the sphere of a particular Sephiroth, the archangel works through us for the fulfillment of its mission. The art of the magician, therefore, lies in the aligning himself with cosmic force in order that the operation he desires to perform may come about as a part of the working of cosmic activities. Boom, boom. Listen, if you want to really get a grasp of what these archangels actually are and how they operate, you need to get the book Ladder of Lights. Ladder of Lights. I have not seen a clearer explanation of the metaphysical explanation of the archangels. I would direct you to my book reading, but I took it down. I should have kept it up. But at the time, I didn't know any better. I didn't know any better. See, I asked about the commentary, and as it turns out, the whole reason that like the book studies aren't flagged and that I can actually do this is because of the commentary and the interjecting explanations. Like, this is what makes it an original work. According to YouTube, I can read this book as long as every couple of lines I stop and I explain it and I put my spin on it. So if I knew that and understood, because I was recently demonetized and I had to look through the YouTube rules. But if I knew that, then I would not have deleted the Ladder of Lights book study. But live and you learn. Moldbox says she's also reminding us that the pursuit of magic is divine. Absolutely. iWalks93 says, somebody get this man a crispy hardcover first edition of Mystical Kabbalah for Christmas. He definitely deserves it. Oh, that'd be nice. But I'm not gonna lie, I enjoy my worn, read through copies. It's almost as if there's magic on each page. One day I'm gonna get the painting on the cover of the book, for sure. One day I'm gonna get this painting on my wall. But yeah, by popular demand, let's reread that. Wait, oh, y'all are talking about a Ladder of Lights. Not the verse. Gotcha. Yeah, so Ladder of Lights. Get that book. That book is an experience, man. That book is an experience. It's about the Kabbalah, but it's coming from a different clique than the Dion Fortune group. So you get it from another angle. Sometimes it's the other angle that does the trick. Fuck it, I'll read it again, that last verse, because now I done got lost. Okay, so an archangel cannot be conjured by any spell, however potent. Rather is it that when we effect an operation of the sphere of a particular Sephiroth, the archangel works through us for the fulfillment of its mission. The art of the magician, therefore, lies in aligning himself with cosmic force in order that the operation he desires to perform may come about as a part of the working of cosmic activities. So understand, the archangels are not people in space. The archangels are like cosmic rules. They are algorithms. They are more like AI than anything else. They are the AI that structures and upholds this reality. They uphold the tree. Every Sephiroth is an angle, an archangle. The reason that a galaxy may center around a black hole, and a solar system centers around a sun, and an atom centers around a nucleus, and the heart is the center of the human body, all those are related to the archangel of the sun. They are principles that are true on every level of existence, right? Because it's one of the algorithms. One of the algorithms, you put information in the algorithm and it comes out the other side. What comes out the other side of that particular angle of light is that things revolve around a center. So there's 10 of those principles that structure the entire universe. And we give them a personality and call them archangels because it's easier to work with them that way. But truly, they're not giant people with wings. They are literally cosmic processes. So don't think of them as people, think of them as cosmic processes. They're like cosmic AI. Formulas, literally formulas. Data goes in the formula and comes out the other way. And it's because of those 10, sometimes 11 formulas that the universe exists the way that it does. It's just like a computer program. A computer program has to have rules in order for it to be playable. Right? A video game, it has to have rules for it to be built upon. All software has underlying code. What the archangels are is the underlying code, right? They're not people. They're the names of processes. That's why it is those archangels who are responsible for building the universe at the command of God. Because they're literally the tools, the structure, the framework. You get me? I hope so. I'm sure you do. So if he be truly purified and dedicated, this will be the case with all his desires. If he be not truly purified and dedicated, he is no adept, and his word is not a word of power. Your word ain't no word of power. I'm listening to you, and you ain't talking about nothing. 23. It is interesting to note that in the world of Asaya, the title of the sphere of Kether is Reshith HaGilgulim, or first swirlings, thus indicating that the rabbis were acquainted with the nebular theory before science was acquainted with the telescope. The manner in which the ancients deduced the basic facts of cosmogony by purely intuitive means, and the use of the method of correspondences centuries before the invention and perfection of the instruments of precision, which enabled modern man to make the same discoveries from another angle, must be a matter of perpetual amazement to anyone who comes to the traditional philosophy unbiased. Now, Dion, was that all one sentence? Because I didn't count but one period. I thought we were done with that since the cosmic doctrine. That was two sentences. Ma'am, I need you to start using periods. Break these into chunks. J. Baldale says Chaldean oracles say something about God being he with a spiral force. Well, see, they talk about the curly hair, my brother. That's your melanin. Girl says she'll be done when she says she is. The longer that sentence goes, the more I feel like I have to reread it. The manner in which the ancients deduced the basic facts of cosmogony by purely intuitive means, and the use of the method of correspondences centuries before the invention and perfection of the instruments of precision, which enabled modern man to make the same discoveries from another angle, must be a matter of perpetual amazement to anyone who comes to the traditional philosophy unbiased. Ma'am, you know you could have broke that down into at least 4 sentences. You know that. But this is your book. Do what you want. Elos says, relationship is important. Do you love, honor your parents, the elements, the light, the water, the air? What kind of relationship do you have with nature, your parents? Curve says, at least she used commas, lol. Yeah. 24. As above, so below. The microcosm corresponds to the macrocosm, and we must therefore seek in man the Kether above the head, which shines with a pure white brilliance in Adam Kadmon, the heavenly man. The rabbis call it Yechidah, the divine spark. The Egyptians call it the Sa. The Hindus call it the thousand-petaled lotus. But under all these names, we have the same idea, the nucleus of pure spirit, which emanates but does not indwell its many manifestations upon the planes of form. So it's my hope that you have an image of what she's talking about here, right? This source, this thing, this bright, brilliant white light that isn't actually in existence, but the bright light shines upon existence, and existence reflects that light within itself, right? So it's almost like you've got existence, we can say, as this big ball of clear jelly, right? and there's this bright white light, which we can say is Kether, and it's shining upon this clear ball of jelly. And this clear ball of jelly now has, you can see the light in the jelly, and it starts to take shape of what the light might look like, right? So that jelly, which was nothing, is now picking up that light and making a shape out of that light. And that process continues. The shape gets more refined and more defined, and it keeps becoming something. But the light is never in the jelly. The jelly is just responding to the light. It's like clay being molded. You get that image? And by the way, that clay, that jelly is existence. It's the material plane. It's the astral plane too. This is why the sin and the impurity is identifying with matter, identifying with the elements, identifying with nature. That's what the sin is. That's what the impurity is. Believing that you are this thing. But the truth is, this thing is reflecting something that's not here. Check or comma. It is said that never while in incarnation can we rise to the consciousness of Kether in Absolute and retain the physical vehicle intact against our return. Even as Enoch walked with God and was not, so the man that has the vision of Kether is disrupted so far as the vehicle of incarnation is concerned. Look, when you really have an experience with Kether, you're not coming back the same. Hell, you're not coming back. It's that transformative, right? When the awareness that is locked within that jelly realizes the light itself, you now know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you are not the jelly. Shit, you got nothing to do with the jelly whatsoever. We talking about from first grade to freshman at college. You can't go back to first. You literally can't go back to first grade. You can't go back to 8th grade, right? You wouldn't want to. So look, it is said that never while in incarnation can we rise to the consciousness of Kether in Absolute and retain the physical vehicle intact against our return. Even as Enoch walked with God and was not, so the man that has the vision of Kether is disrupted so far as the vehicle of incarnation is concerned. I'm not going to say it, but what if there was somebody who really did some serious occult work and really had that vision, and the body was still here, but they moved on? What if? That's all I'm gonna say. Why this must be is readily discerned when we remember that we cannot enter into a mode of consciousness save by reproducing it in ourselves. Just as music means nothing to us unless the heart sings with it. What must I say? What must I do to show how much? If therefore we reproduce in ourselves the mode of being of that which has neither form nor activities, it follows that we must free ourselves from form and activity. If therefore we if we reproduce in ourselves the mode of being of that which has neither form nor activities, because remember, Kether, there are no attributes, right? There's nothing to describe Kether by. It is pure being. There's no details. There's nothing that the mind can grab a hold of and say, this is that, right? If we reproduce that in ourselves, Well, shit, it follows that we must free ourselves from form and activity. If you reproduce Kether in your physical body, you can no longer inhabit the physical body. If we succeed in doing so, that which is held together by the form mode of consciousness will fall apart and return to its elements. Thus dissolved, it cannot be reassembled by returning consciousness. Therefore, when we aspire to the vision of Kether and Atziluth, we must be prepared to enter into the light and come not forth again. You still want to do it? You still want to do it? Everybody who was talking about, I want to leave this place and not come back, because you heard Brother Panic say it and you thought it was cool. Do you still want to do it? Now that you know where to aim? Well, granted, it may take considerable work, but Curve says the Vedas have a practice like that. Forgot the name though. Yes, and it's lightly touched on in one of those Vedic books we read, one of those Bihar School of Yoga books, because that's what Swami Satyananda did. that deliberate meditation, that deliberate practice of getting the fuck on out of here. Ooh. Imagine. Just imagine. That man sat down, told his students, I'm gonna peace out, meditated, and that was his last day. Back of the head popped. On purpose. Curve says Sadhguru says his wife did it too. Yeah, man, you got to be of a certain level. Like that, you're literally done. You have literally beat the game. You beat the game, and that's the credits. That's wonderful, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. Ask yourself now, if you knew that meditation, if you knew the whole steps, would you sit down and do it? I know the answer is no, but what I want you to think about is, what makes you say no? What? Damn. Now I'm thinking about it. I would. That's crazy. That's crazy. Fat Tony says, like that monk that set himself on fire and didn't make a sound. Man, y'all really got me thinking about it. That is quite a concept, huh? Kashi says there are some Zen koans when the teacher would do that same thing. Sheesh. Would you do it? And if your answer is no, just think about what would stop you, right? Because that's a clear indication of the work you have to do. I feel like I can 99% say I ain't got shit else to do. I can 99% feel like I can say that. I could be wrong. I could be over presumptuous. Maybe I need to think about it a little bit more, but I don't know. I think I'm good. iWatch93 says there's a story of a warrior who wanted a Zen master to teach him his secrets. When the warrior arrived, the Zen master smiled at him and dropped dead willingly right before him. Curve says, Trav, if you do it, I'ma find you. Hey, man. I might find you first. Zero says the rainbow body is like dissolve the physical body into light. Also, Sadhguru said it's possible. Yeah, I might have to get back on my Sadhguru because he has that skill of dropping advanced stuff right next to the simple stuff. So depending on where you at, you might get something different out of it. Let's continue with this text now. Elah says the key to Kether is Yasod foundation. The foundation is pay, 80 the mouth. Meditate on this, it's important. Okay, so therefore when we aspire to the vision of Kether and Atziluth, we must be prepared to enter into the light and come not forth again. 26. I mean, what are we clinging on to, man? We clinging on to having to pay bills and taxes every year. We clinging on to having to wipe your ass with toilet paper because you have to take a shit after the food that you have to pay to eat. You gotta pay rent. You gotta argue with your lover if you got one. Your stuff breaking and falling apart. Your roommates don't replenish the paper towels and the toilet paper. Every time you eat food and cook, you gotta wash dishes. What are we really clinging on to, man? People dying, people killing each other, knuckleheads up the street, down the street, shooting up the shit place. Babies crying, people dying. What would you do if your son was at home crying all alone on the bedroom floor because he's hungry? And the only way to feed him is to sleep with a man for a little bit of money, and his dad is gone. So we're smoking rock now, in and out of lockdown. I ain't got a job now. So for you, this is just a good time, but for me, this is what I call life. Life. All right. Page 111. Curve said was 1, 2, 3. Kashigi 1223. 88% battery. We are on the frequency. Let's ride with it. 26. This does not imply that nirvana is annihilation, as an ignorant rendering of Eastern philosophy has taught European thought. But it does imply a complete change of mode or dimension. What we shall be when we find ourselves ranked with the holy living creatures, we do not know. And none who achieved the vision of Kether and Atziluth have returned to tell us. But tradition avers that there are those who have done so, and that they are intimately concerned with the evolution of humanity, and are the prototypes of those supermen concerning whom all races have a tradition. A tradition which, unfortunately, of recent years has been cheapened and debased by pseudo-occult teaching. Whatever these beings may or may not be, it is safe to say that they have neither astral form nor human personality, but are as flames in the fire, which is God. The state of the soul which has attained nirvana may best be likened to a wheel that has lost its rim, and whose spokes have become rays that penetrate and interpenetrate the whole creation. Damn. A center of radiation to whose influence no limit is set save that of its own dynamism, and which maintains its identity as a nucleus of energy. She talking about some metaphysical stuff right here, man. I don't even want to take away from what she just said there. I can't. It makes me think about how I said there's one soul, right? It also makes me think about how this knowledge, this information, the wisdom of existence, we don't create it. We come into it, right? We expand into it when our mind is able to have the capacity to receive it. So what I'm thinking is, she's talking about how these folks ascend up to the level of Kether. They no longer have a physical body. They no longer have an astral body. They are like this pure force of God. One of the flames of the fire that is God. But look at that. We all have that potential within us because all of us are that. It's just that we haven't expanded to that level to understand it. All of us are that. We're just not aware of it. Through this work, you expand your consciousness and gradually become aware of that aspect. It's not that my soul is special, but the one soul is God. And at some point, I release this concept of me and I let it stay here where it belongs, amongst the elements dissolved, and I reclaim what I actually am. We stay here by choice. We stay here because we hold on tightly. Hold on, please, Lord. Woo! So 27. The spiritual experience assigned to Kether is said to be union with God. Makes sense. This is the end and aim of all mystical experience. And if we look for any other goal, we are as those who build a house in the world of illusion. What's your spiritual goal? Do you want power in the world? Do you want to rule over people? Have a harem? Lamborghini? What's your spiritual goal? I remember what I used to think I wanted. Money, girls, and fame. But to me, that don't sound like nothing but problems. Nothing but problems. The spiritual experience assigned to Kether is union with God. Union with God. This is the end and aim of all mystical experience. And if we look for any other goal, we are as those who build a house in the world of illusion. Anything that holds him back from the straight path to this goal is felt by the mystic to be a bond that binds, and as such, to be broken. All that holds consciousness to form, all desires other than the one desire, these are to him evils. And from the standpoint of his philosophy, he's right. And to act otherwise would invalidate his technique. Evil. 28. But this is not the only test which the mystic has to face. It is required of him that he shall fulfill the requirements of the planes of form before he is free to commence his withdrawal and escape from form. We're talking about that escape again. Let me run it back so you can hear it. But this is not the only test which the mystic has to face. It is required of him that he shall fulfill the requirements of the planes of form. You got to fulfill the requirements of the planes of form. You're here for a reason. You're here for a purpose. There's something here you're supposed to do. You don't just get to check out. Curve says, remember the goal I told you I had since a kid in our consultation? Yes. Maybe we should all remember the goals that we had as kids, right? Before we became influenced by the world. Man, chapter 25, verse 25 and 26 really got me thinking. So but this is not the only test which the mystic has to face. It is required of him that he shall fulfill the requirements of the planes of form before he is free to commence his withdrawal and escape from form. There is a left-hand path that leads to Kether, the Kether of the clip-off. which is the kingdom of chaos. If he embarks upon the mystic path prematurely, it is thither he goes, and not to the kingdom of light. To the man who is naturally of the mystic path, the discipline of form is uncongenial, and it is the subtlest of temptations to abandon the struggle with the life of form that resists his mastery, and retreat back up the plains before the nadir has been rounded and the lessons of form have been learnt. That's another Dion Fortune metaphor right there that she uses continually. Chicano's fighting for higher learning skills. You must have watched the last Kether live stream. I think you were there for that one. So yeah, you don't want to retreat back up the plains before the nadir has been rounded and the lessons of form have been learned. In other words, what she means by that is you got to make a full journey, right? You got to go down, and you got to come back up. Sometimes you got to go down and come back up. To go down and to come up halfway, or to come down and come back up halfway, you didn't go through the entire cycle. You shorted yourself, and if anything, you're slowing yourself down, giving yourself an incomplete experience, which will inevitably lead to you having to repeat what you tried to shortcut. Might as well just get it over with now. Form is the matrix in which the fluidic consciousness is held till it acquires an organization proof against dispersal. So look at that. She considers consciousness as like a fluid, liquid form, right? And it's contained in the cup of form. Now, it's contained in that cup of form for a specific purpose. In the cup of form, there is knowledge that it must expand into. While you are here in this existence, your consciousness has knowledge that it must expand into. Whatever it is that you're doing, as long as your trajectory is set towards Kether, you're going to be drawn towards the life experiences that you need to be drawn towards to give you entry into the knowledge that you're supposed to have. But any attempt to bypass that process, I mean, you're only going to have to try again. And wouldn't it suck to have to start over? You see the condition of the world now. I would not want to come back here as a child. Hell no. I wouldn't want to come back here as a young person anytime after the year that I was born, I'll tell you that. Maybe before. But y'all young folks got it rough. Yikes. Artemis in theory, peace and greetings. Artemis says, swear, if I don't click on your page, I won't know if you're live. I don't know what's up with it. I don't know. A couple of people said that. I don't know. I don't know if YouTube changed something. Maybe I did something. I don't know. But thankfully, some people do get the notification, whether it's through the phone or through the astral plane. Because obviously you click on it for a reason. Why would you click on my page at this time of night? Peace to you. So consciousness is contained in form because there's data that it must expand into, and that can only happen within this dimension of time and space, till it becomes the nucleus of individuality differentiated out of the amorphous sea of pure being. And pure being, right, we can also say would include that endless ocean of data. So if we got this endless ocean of data, this pure being, right, and there's a scoop taken out of that endless ocean of being, and that scoop of consciousness is placed into a form, into a body, into you. So here you are, you're still in this endless ocean, but the experience is different. You're experiencing at the lowest level possible in a human form. And through this lifetime, the consciousness scoop within this body, it's evolving, it's expanding, and it's changing its quality. So when the body disintegrates, that scoop maintains its form. It's no longer part of the ocean, homogeneous. It's now an individualized scoop. And this process continues, and it refines until the point that this consciousness can fully expand past and separate this ocean. If the matrix be broken too soon, before the fluidic consciousness has become set as an organized system of stresses stereotyped by repetition, consciousness settles back again into formlessness. Ooh, dreadful. Even as the clay returns to mud if freed from the supporting restraint of the mold before it has been set. If there is a mystic whose mysticism produces mundane incapacity or any form of dissociation of consciousness, we know that the mold had been broken too soon for him. He's supposed to maintain consciousness in them deep levels, and he must return to the discipline of form until its lesson has been learnt and his consciousness has attained a coherent and cohesive organization that not even Nirvana can disrupt. Let him hew wood and carry water in the service of the temple if he will, but let him not profane its holy place with his pathologies and immaturities. I heard that. So look, I mentioned this in the previous live stream and other times. The astral projection and etheric projection, like that, it's not just for fun, and it's not an optional cool trick that you can do to see somebody naked. Astral projection is part of the curriculum. Like after you learn meditation, you're supposed to start learning astral projection. Not just so you can see cool fancy things, but this is a testament to you being able to hold the form of your consciousness in the realms of no form, right? Being able to hold your form of consciousness in the etheric plane, in the astral plane, and beyond. An extremely small percentage of people can do that. That's why most people reincarnate, because when they go up, they come right back down. So an indication that you're doing this is that you have more lucid dreams, not every night, not every single night, but you should be having more lucid dreams than more often than not, right? Not every night, but they should be coming a little bit more frequently. And little things like that. You should be able to meditate without falling asleep, without dozing off, right? The astral stuff, like I said, it's not a cool trick. It's a mandatory part of the higher learning, because like I said, it's a testament that you're learning to maintain your form. You're learning to maintain your form, man. Poor Kill, peace. You've always got an interesting thumbnail. I tell you what. Elias One, peace. You dropped a bomb on me, baby. I gotta figure out what the hell she did to him. That man's life was forever changed. Iwa says, maintain your frame, maintain your form. Uh-oh. Repetition is the father of learning. And that's what she said up here. Repetition. See that? If the matrix be broken too soon, before the fluidic consciousness has become set as an organized system, right? The consciousness should be an organized system of stresses stereotyped by repetition. Consciousness settles back again into formlessness, even as the clay returns to the mud if it's freed from the supporting restraint of the mold before it has set. I love that last line. Let him hew wood and carry water in the service of the temple if he will, but let him not profane its holy place with his pathologies and immaturities. So your first step is to get past these pathologies and immaturities, right? That's the true evil, that humanity right there, your pathology and your immaturity. That's why shadow work is really at the level of most people that we're dealing with on the planet Earth. Shadow work should be the main concern, right? Damn, learn about some spells and candles and shit. Shadow work, that should be everybody's primary main concern. Because after you deal with your pathologies and immaturities, now you can start working on expanding into this knowledge and wisdom without bringing prejudices and fears and insecurities, right? So you can see clearly. The more clearly that you can see, the faster you're going to absorb this information. But a lot of people try to come into this info with a full cup, and they try to argue it to have it their way, right? Try to bring their views to what's already pretty much, like I said, this whole thing's been mapped out already. You don't have to make anything up. You don't have to add anything to it. The data exists already. The truth exists already. You don't have to make any of it up. You don't have to wing it. You just expand into it. But before you can know how to expand, of course, you have to study and practice. And once you've studied and practiced and learned how to expand, you naturally start getting this wisdom, like J. Paul Hale said, in everyday circumstances, while you're at work, while you're doing chores, while you're playing with your kids or your pets or yourself. You start coming into this information naturally. Chicanos Fighting for Higher Learning Skills says, is the book 7-Day Mental Diet still the go-to for your students who don't get paychecks for your classes as today? The 7-Day Mental Diet is an extraordinary book to get you on the path to analyzing yourself. That I would say is a great start to shadow work. Yes, that's a great start to shadow work. Now, it can get more. There are other topics of shadow work that can be more specific. And I'll tell you what. Also, Google cognitive bias. I don't know. I don't know if I got you on Instagram, but if you look up cognitive biases, just look at how many of those things that you commit, right? And don't look at them and say, "Oh, none of this is me." Yes, you got a lot of them. Look at cognitive biases, and that's another great place to start, because you're gonna see a bunch of automatic NPC shit that you do, right? Everyone talks about NPCs, but I'm gonna tell you something. NPCs, non-player characters, just like in a video game, run off of algorithms, right? They respond a specific set kind of way. Now, these cognitive biases, since you're not aware of them, that's your programming, right? So look into the cognitive biases and see where you do it in your life, and make a conscious effort to bypass those automatic algorithms, those automatic responses. That's going to take you very far. Check. Let me know if you get that. Cognitive biases. There's a good number of them, but you'll find like the most popular ones are the ones that most everybody does. Because you don't have to think. It's built in. Those are programs that come with the iPod, that come with the phone. Curve says it's 7-Day Mental Diet by Dr. Fox. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It should only be like $4. But like I said, go to Google, type in cognitive bias, and then go to images. Or go to Pinterest and type in cognitive bias. If you're a visual learner, you'll see so many different things. I want you to look at those and you'll see what they're called. Then Google them individually, learn about them, and then identify where you do them in your life. And as you find them, start to eliminate them. Start to be aware so you don't do them anymore. That's the NPC code. All right, good question. Chicano's fighting for higher learning skills. Curve says, dang, first pick got 20. Oh yeah, hey, it's a lot of work to make an NPC. We're talking about little sparks of God that are supposed to be here like Dr. Manhattan. You gotta break them down. There's more than 20, but those are enough to keep modern man under lock and key. And you don't want to give Prakriti the key to that lock, because she might not let you out. She don't have no reason to. 29. The virtue assigned to Kether is that of attainment, the completion of the great work, to use a term borrowed from the alchemists. Without completion, there can be no attainment, and without attainment, no completion. Good intentions weigh light in the scale of cosmic justice. It is by our completed work that we are known. Hey guys, it don't matter about them good intentions. It's rough and it's tough, but what matters is that you do this work and you see it through to the end. Because if you don't see it through to the end, it doesn't matter how good your intentions were. You're still going to dissolve into that ocean of undifferentiated consciousness, only to try it again with a different formulation of matter. Make this incarnation your best incarnation. Go ahead and do the work. I promise you, the things that you're distracting yourself with is not worth it. I mean, you know, it might feel good, but in the back of your head, you're thinking, damn, it's got to be more to life than this. Well, you're not getting that thought for no reason. Good intentions weigh light in the scale of cosmic justice. It is by our completed work that we are known. True, we have all eternity in which to complete it, but complete it we must, even to the final yod. You ain't missing nothing. There is no mercy in perfect justice, save that which gives us leave to try again. Shit, it's mercy for you to be reincarnated, so you can try again. Because the alternative, obliteration, annihilation, ring past not, clip off, no light of Kether. 30. Kether, viewed from the standpoint of form, is the crown of the kingdom of oblivion. Kether, viewed from the standpoint of form, right? The people in your group chat, people at your family get together, people at your church. Kether, viewed from the standpoint of form, is the crown of the kingdom of oblivion. Unless we have realization of the nature of the life of the pure white light, we shall have little temptation to strive for the crown, which is not of this order of being at all. And if we have this realization, then are we free from the bondage of manifestation and can speak to all forms as one having authority. Free from the bondage of manifestation and can speak to all forms as one having authority. Spiritual authority. Speaking to the elements. So you thought I was making this shit up, huh? You thought I was making this shit up. Nah, brave. This is information and data that exists with or without me. Curve says the ultimate you ain't shit. The ring pass not. Man. Literally. Grind down, broken down, and recycled. Damn. An utter cosmic failure. That sucks. You didn't find a place in the cosmos anywhere. Can't get right. But universe says mama ain't raised no fool. We'll just break them down and start again. Back to the lab. All right, that was Kether. And I tell you what, man, if you was paying attention, if you have this book and you highlighted some stuff and you're going to go back and read over it, you're going to find that there are a lot of clues that can cause you to step your game up. There's a lot of information here that can improve how you go about doing your thing. I'm not just saying that. Look, I ain't got nothing to gain. I'm not being monetized, right? Ain't nobody gave me a donation, right? So I'm just sitting up here reading this stuff. Number one, because I love this information. And number two, there ain't nothing else worth spending time on. So get this info, man. We're not just up here wasting time doing nothing for nothing. Get this information. This is the best thing you could have done with your time, right? If you were listening, if you're serious about this, right? I mean, if you had it in the background, you know what I'm saying, while you're doing your dishes or whatever, it's still going into the subconscious. But what I'm saying is this information, this type of information, right? This is what we're supposed to be doing. So don't beat around the bush. Dive right in. Dive right in. All right. So I trust that you, students of Magick, chosen ones, or whatever we're calling ourselves now, are going to do your due diligence and study, right? Contemplate, practice meditation, right? Practice maintaining your consciousness in deep sleep. Understanding that the form is but an expression of the essence. The essence is in the world, but not of the world. Excuse me, the form is in the world, but not of the world. The soul is not here. This shit is not as serious and as deep and as dreadful as you make it. Yes, there's a lot of crazy ass animals out there. But remember, you have a purpose. You're not limited to this physical body. Your soul is projecting into this matrix so that your consciousness can expand into a specific data set. Get that data set, whatever it is. Yours is different than mine. Gratefully, thankfully, we all meet in a common place, but all of us have a different set of data that we're supposed to expand into before we return. So make sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you know what it is. Don't hit me with the auto. You know what it is, right? Because a part of you that is beyond your thought process knows what it is. Stop making it too hard, too deep, too serious. Man. And I tell you what, I'm gonna turn this right here into the authorities. I don't know where it came from. My cat found it. That's a good cat. She turned it into me, and I'm gonna turn it into the authorities. And whoever did this, they better be on the lookout. Curve said, "Who are these authorities?" Hey, man. The authorities. Y'all know that's not my kind of thing. But I mean, the cat manifested it from Kether, so it must be a sign. Must be a sign. Who are these authorities? You heard what Dion Fortune said. You speak to all forms as one having authority. Not you blaming Kether and the cat. Hey, this ain't me. I love Steve Harvey and Nephew Tony, I do. All right, successful. It's a little bit late. It's 2 o'clock, but that's all right. That's all right. Might get me some Hogwarts in before I go to sleep. I hope the authorities enjoy it. I hope they enjoy it too. I hope they take lots of notes and come back with some stellar ideas so that they can help to expand the awareness of data. All right, y'all, we out. You know what your job is. Now go do it. You know what time it is. You know what you're supposed to be doing. Remember what you said also about the source of energy, right? Where you're pulling your energy from. Don't rob Peter to pay Paul. Yes, you're supposed to be organizing elemental forces. Yes, you're supposed to do that. Most of them are already created. However, start your work with Kether in mind. Start your work with Kether symbology. Try your best to maybe do some meditation on that 1,000-petaled lotus, on that formless, attributeless, clear, blinding, brilliant white light. She gave you so many different correspondences, right? So many different ones. All right, so that's enough. I will quit dilly-dallying. Have a great night, everybody. Curve says, my new mantra is Kether, let me hold something. Right. Peace, Fat Tony. Peace, Oath. Peace, Zero. Zero says, amazing lecture, Trav, as always. Really helpful and insightful. Thank you. Thank you. Good night, Kathleen. Thank you, Artemis. Moldvox. Shanti, Shanti. Shalom, Shalom. All right. Off to Hogwarts I go. Enjoy your night. This is DK Trav, Travis Magus here with LVX777. I love you.